Unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show is live. It is Wednesday. Hello, my friends, and welcome in. The Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. What's happening? Y'all, great to be with you. Hope you are doing well. Hope you're living the dream. I am Rob Brown. The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for hanging out with us every weekday afternoon from noon to 3 Eastern Standard Time on ESPN Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, all around the world on the Odyssey app. Pick up the Odyssey app, your home for all things audio, from sports to podcasts to news and everything else. The Odyssey app, AUDACY. Pick it up. Listen to ESPN Upstate around the clock. Back in the palatial ESPN Upstate studios, the man pushing the buttons, switching the switches, levering the levers, the guy in charge of the show, my guy Lonzo, hashtag Dad Kicks, Colonel Grudge, the conductor of the Symphony of Sound that is the Rob Brown Show. Zoe, what up, dog?
Glad to be here on a beautiful Wednesday. Yeah, that's the day it is, Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. We are halfway done with the weekish. We are on the way to another spectacular sports weekend. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. Last week, I thought about this on Monday, Lonzo. We got a little spoiled last weekend. We had the Masters. We had WrestleMania. We had Major League Baseball all over the place early in the season. We had the NBA. We had the NHL's trade deadline taking place. So we had a very nice sports weekend last weekend. We got a little spoiled, and in the year 2021, I accept that and would like it to happen more often, to tell you the truth.
Oh, I agree, because we're going into the offseason, but we can handle it. You still got baseball. We still got some other stuff to talk about, but last week was nice. It was very nice.
Yes, it was. We do have baseball, but if you are a Braves fan, it is not going well right now. Last night, Adam Duvall and the Marlins had themselves a night over in the ATL. Duvall, 7 ribbies, led the Marlins to a 14-8 win over the Braves. The Bravos' third L in a row. It is not going as well for the ATL, a team that was projected by many to be competitive towards the top of the NL East standings. And Eesh. It's not going great. We'll talk some baseball later on in the show, but we have got to. So actually, we will speak some baseball coming up here in just a minute in the lunch breakdown, because baseball's antitrust exception is under fire by a few senators, and that could have major implications for us as MLB fans. I'll tell you why and what that means coming up here in just a few minutes. In fact, what the hey? What do you say? Let's just jump straight into it. Let's just get right into it, Zoe. Let's start the show.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented. You guys are here.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
It is the lunch breakdown. The 3 things you have to know before you start talking sports with your friends, family, coworker, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. It is going to be a busy one today, so let us jump right into it. Item number 1. We broke this down a little bit yesterday, but the conversation is far from over at this point. The NFL sent out a memo yesterday where they said that NFL employees who work directly with players on a Tier 1 or Tier 2 access must be vaccinated in the future in order to maintain that access. They sent out a memo that was provided to a number of reporters yesterday that said, quote, Tier 1 and Tier 2 players other than, or Tier 1 and Tier 2 employees other than players should be expected to be vaccinated unless they have a bona fide medical or religious ground for not doing so. Any staffer that refuses to be vaccinated without a religious or medical reason will not be eligible for Tier 1 or Tier 2 status and therefore will not be permitted access to the football-only restricted area and may not work directly or in close proximity with players. Furthermore, as noted below, we anticipate relaxing various aspects of the protocol, such as close contact quarantine, restrictions regarding locker room, meetings, and cafeteria use in the testing cadence for vaccinated individuals. Now, there is a notable disparity requiring high-level team personnel to get vaccinated, but not all players. As it stands, mandatory player vaccinations would fall under collective bargaining, with players having their working conditions negotiated by their union. This is why the NFL is within their boundaries to mandate that non-unionized team personnel get vaccinated or face changes in their working limitations. Effectively, the NFL's league office can take added steps to protect players from team employees who are not vaccinated, while players being protected from other vaccinated players is essentially a matter for the union to agree upon. Within the memo, the league office also stated that all teams are expected to use stadiums or training facilities as max vaccination sites for their team personnel, as well as players and family members who wish to take part. The league office also has requested an update on the status of vaccination efforts within franchises by April 19th, when voluntary offseason activities are slated to begin for franchises. So, we asked yesterday, and I did not think about this, though, but we asked yesterday why it was that the NFL would mandate that their employees must be vaccinated in order to have top-tier access, but not players. We came off the show yesterday, and that thought struck me. I'm a little disappointed in myself that it didn't strike me while we were on the air. But basically, it comes down to the players' union are the ones who dictate working conditions amongst the players. If the players' union decided to go ahead and mandate vaccinations, then it would kick into play. But the NFL does not supersede the players' union. It would violate the collective bargaining agreement. That being said, it would not shock me. Remember, we are going to have more CBA negotiations in the not-so-distant future. I would not be shocked to see if that becomes a topic of conversation in the CBA discussions that we have next round. It comes down to, would the players' union demand that the players get out there? I suspect you will have some players in the union that say, I will not take the field unless vaccinations are mandatory. I suspect you will have another handful of players who are going to say that mandatory vaccinations are not something they would be okay with. This is just one more side effect of the pandemic, Zoe, that we probably didn't take into consideration when this whole thing started not terribly long ago. But I suspect that the players will be having their own discussions about this in the not-so-distant future.
So I'm curious, what does the NFL do if the players' union decide that the players do not need to be vaccinated? Because we talked about yesterday about how this could be hypocritical, and we didn't think about the union thing. But if the union comes out and decides, hey, players are not required, but NFL employees are, how's that look? I mean, it's not a good look.
Well, what would happen at that point is then the NFL would come to the players union and say, okay, this is a non-starter for us. We are going to make it a demand. And the question would be, how far would the players union go to not mandate vaccinations if the NFL said that was a condition for a CBA? If the NFL says to the players, we want to mandate vaccinations, we think that they should be mandatory, and the CBA says absolutely no chance, Zoe, I wonder if the NFL and the players would go so far as to have another lockout and potentially miss games over mandatory vaccinations. I have no idea. I have no idea how forceful the players would push back, how forceful the NFL will push. I mean, obviously they are very pro mandatory vaccinations, but I don't know if that would mean that either side would be willing to go to all the way to lockout status in order to get that on the table.
So how would that work? I mean, so the NFL will say if you don't get vaccinated, you can't play. So in essence, they will be hurting themselves. I don't see them doing that, especially after an entire season with hardly any fans at all. I think they'll cave if it comes to that.
I actually don't disagree with you on that, to tell you the truth. I actually don't disagree. I don't think the NFL is going to lock out over mandatory vaccinations, but you got to wonder if maybe they don't go to the players union and say, okay, we'll lax this, and this thing that you don't like in order to put those on the table. And if the players union would maybe ask for some concessions in other parts of their negotiations in order to get there. We'll come back down to that story later on in the show. Item number 2, Mel Kiper Jr.'s new mock draft is out. He's got some money moves, making money moves up at the top of said mock draft, including the New England Patriots jumping up in order to select a quarterback. Mel Kiper Jr. has Justin Fields falling all the way to number 10, where he has the Patriots jumping up, making a trade out of that bank of draft picks that they have in order to pick up the signal caller. At the number 8 spot, he's got the Carolina Panthers selecting Devontae Smith, the wide receiver out of Alabama. We touched on this a little bit yesterday, Zoe, but I wanted to bring it up earlier in the show today. Kiper Jr.'s argument is that Sam Darnold has a ton of potential, and he believes Sam Darnold could be successful in Carolina, but his belief is you need to stock weapons around him, something that the Jets failed to do. The Jets did not go in that direction. He's now in Carolina. We already know that he's got Robbie Anderson. We already know he's got DJ Moore. We already know he's got Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. But Mel Kiper Jr. says Devontae Smith, though undersized, will be a top-tier caliber wide receiver at the next league. Plug him in at that third wide receiver spot. Give Sam Darnold yet another option. My argument, Zoe, remains, and we'll talk with Rashad Beard of Panthers Nation podcast tomorrow on the show. My argument remains it doesn't matter what weapons you have on the outside if Sam Darnold's taking hits. He's already got 2 pretty top-tier wide receivers. I'd prefer the Carolina Panthers go in the direction of an offensive lineman, but if they do decide to add a Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver to the list, I mean, I'll take it, I guess. It's not the sexiest pick in the world to me, but you know, I'm never going to get mad at a team thinking that they're trying to hit on a home run wide receiver.
What it comes down to, I mean, the casual fan or the fan that's just worried about, you know, scoring of points and all that kind of stuff, they want to see a receiver. They want to see a something flashy like that. But the real fan realizes that you need protection for your quarterback, whoever that quarterback is. And you need to get alignment in it. You need to shore up that offensive line.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that one. Again, Rashad Beard of the Panthers Nation podcast is going to join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and we will get his thoughts on that as well. Item numero tres, and this is one we're going to spend quite a bit of time on today. Ordinarily, I hear the cacophony of y'all saying keep politics out of sports. We don't want politics and politicians getting involved, but a trio of Republican lawmakers has outlined legislation aimed at ending Major League Baseball's antitrust exemption after the All-Star game was moved out of Georgia in protest of that state's new voting legislation. The legislative push comes from Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, Senator Mike Lee of Utah, and Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, 3 of the most staunch conservative senators in the Capitol. It comes amidst growing frustrations from Republicans over sports corporations embracing causes that they believe are more aligned with progressives and Democrats. We know Major League Baseball relocated the All-Star game from Truist Park in the ATL in Cobb County, Georgia, to Denver's Coors Field in response to recently enacted voting legislation signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp a few weeks back. Ted Cruz told reporters, quote, "This past month, we have seen the rise of the woke corporation. We have seen the rise of big business enforcing a woke standard. That decision was harmful. It's going to hurt baseball, but it also underscores there's no reason Major League Baseball should enjoy special subsidies, corporate welfare that no one else gets, end quote. Now, it is unclear how much traction this antitrust proposal will gain. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell from Kentucky recently criticized baseball for pulling the All-Star game, but he has not gone so far as to call for legislative action targeting the league. Baseball has enjoyed key exemptions from the Sherman Antitrust Act since back in 1992, an act which broadly bans industries from stifling competition, but baseball, one of just a few organizations that receive protection from that law. It has been challenged multiple times throughout the years, for the most part unsuccessful, though there have been here and there, year by year, a slow process of chipping away at those antitrust exemptions. We'll get more into the details later on. But Zoe, this is one of those things that regardless of how you feel about the reasoning of these three Republican senators, whether you think or not it is whether or not they are doing it for good reason, I am in favor of baseball having its antitrust protection stripped away for a few reasons. First and foremost, baseball is basically allowed to act as a massive monopoly. Baseball is the only professional sport in this country that maintains direct supervisory powers over their minor league system. That is to say, minor league teams around the country are basically at the whim of the offices of Major League Baseball, meaning they are not free to make their own decisions. They are not free to make their own trades here and there. They are not free to move around as they see fit. They are not free to operate as separate business entities. The second reason, and maybe selfishly the bigger one for me, is that they would lose their ability to lock fans out of games and blackout games in certain markets. One thing that's been very frustrating to people this year, after the switch from the Fox Sports regional networks to the new Bally or Bailey Sports Network, is that baseball had created a deal where they are basically allowed to decide who can watch what games and when. Those would go away, meaning that TV networks would have more power to unlock games when they are not sold out in markets. So this, although it, like I said, it is irrelevant, your personal feelings on the reasons why these senators are enacting this legislation, we find ourselves on the same side. I would love to see baseball lose its antitrust protection because it would give better access to the fans. It would open up competition at lower levels. We would see minor league teams be granted more autonomy, something that I think would be beneficial for fans in smaller markets everywhere.
You know, I didn't know some of what you were talking about the control of the minor leagues, about how much actual control they had of them. You know, so this would be a good thing, but how often have politicians dabbled in these sports and nothing come from it? So unfortunately, this will probably be just a lot of chatter and nothing will happen, but we'll see.
We're going to talk more about that, in fact, coming up here in just a minute. I'll give you a rundown of how this exemption works, how baseball got it, the history behind it, what it means, and what this legislation, if it gains support, would do to baseball and for fans. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo's at the helm. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate.
Golf cart.
Yep.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your phone everywhere on the radio.com app. Download the app and make ESPN Upstate a favorite for 24/7 real, unfiltered sports talk.
So it's going to be an absolutely beautiful weekend this weekend. Look outside right now. Look at that blue sky, man. The sunshine. I want to get outside. That is why I am thrilled that I have already gotten my 2021 Upstate golf card. $99 gets you green fees at 9 premier Upstate golf courses, and you're only getting a deal like that through the Upstate golf card. The Preserve It Verde, Pebble Creek, Legacy Pines, the Rock Golf Club and Resort, Carolina Springs, Willow Creek, the Links of Tryon, Rolling Green Golf Club, and new on the card this year, the club at Brookstone. If you called any one of those courses and said, hey, I'd like a book of tee time on Sunday, and they said, great, turns out we are doing a 75% off greens fees deal. You would go, well, then sign me up for 2 rounds of golf. I am in. Well, that's exactly what I'm telling you is happening right now. $450+ worth of greens fees, and you are getting it for just $99. That's over a 75% discount. You can get yours now by going to upstategolfcard.com. Upstategolfcard.com. Get all the details. Pick yours up now. Grab some for your friends so y'all can play around together. It's the 2021 Upstate Golf Card.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, powered by The Score. The starting lineup is set for Sunday's Toyota Owners 400 at Richmond Raceway using the qualifying metric. Martin Truex Jr. coming off a win at Martinsville this past weekend will start from the pole. He's going to be joined in the front row by Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, and William Byron in row 2. Joey Logano and Kyle Larson will be in row number 3. The schedule for the weekend: the trucks are going to run on Saturday before the Cup Series runs.
I'm blaming it on Rob Brown.
Current NASCAR Cup Series.
I'm talking engineering right now. Things are suddenly not working in the studio like the last couple. Although Rob wasn't here yesterday, so it might not be his fault.
So I just want to make sure that I'm getting blamed for a thing when I wasn't even in the studio.
Yeah. I realize that, and but you could have sabotaged it the day before.
Yes, that's what I did.
It is a possibility.
It's called the long comms, though.
So it turns out that that someone just turned the TVs off. Okay, so it is messing up. All right.
So the TVs were off, and that was the technical.
Well, no, it's flashing on and off, so that's not just it.
Small businesses need right now. Call 833-919-2129 and get all the value with none of the nonsense. That's Spectrum Business.
Believe it or not, we need TVs in the studio for breaking news.
It's true.
Yeah. I hate depending on just Twitter alone. Although Twitter is pretty good at breaking sports news.
I
But
get more news off of Twitter than I do off the TV, and I have the TV on too.
same here, but every once in a while I'll just glance up and see the breaking news thing that I may have missed on Twitter. You think you're following everybody, but doesn't mean it'll show up. 1 minute. Yeah, but I mean, we'll take either one.
On Twitter, tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Brown, Lonzo with you today on the broadcast. Wanted to spend a few minutes on this baseball antitrust exemption story because it's got potential to be very, very beneficial for fans. So let's get into it just a little bit here. Baseball's exemption, there's quite a history to it that needs to be discussed. And it's because, to me, it has a major impact on two specific groups of people. Number one, the minor leagues themselves, and number two, on fans of the game. MLB's antitrust exemption empowers the league and its clubs to basically conspire in ways that might otherwise run afoul of antitrust law for other businesses. The current version of the exemption allows caps on minor league players' salaries, known as wage fixing to some people, denial of clubs' opportunities to move to larger markets, and pooling of intellectual property rights, all of which would not be allowed by other businesses, but are allowed under baseball's antitrust exemption, which has stood in place since back in 1992, when the old National League was brought to court by the then Federal Baseball Club. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, at the time, held that baseball games are purely matters of the states where they are played and thus outside the scope of federal antitrust law. His reasoning has attracted a lot of pushback over many years. Now, while baseball games are only played in one state, and I don't think that Oliver Wendell Holmes would have had the foresight to realize that one day this would become an $11 billion a year industry. The argument at the time was that since baseball games are played only in one state, that the state should have the regulation over them. But obviously that is not the case anymore. Yes, an individual baseball game is played in one state, but there are 30 baseball teams across the country at the MLB level. And considering the fact that the MLB also runs minor league games and minor league operations at this point, there is an overwhelming power over those systems as well that are not held by any other professional sport. Back in a number of years ago, let's say over the past 50 years or so, as I have mentioned, there has been a chipping away at baseball's antitrust exemptions. There was a court case brought forward by a player many years ago by the name of Curt Flood. This was in 1969. Curt Flood made a legal challenge to the reserve clause that was provided in the antitrust exemption. That reserve clause basically prevented players from having free agent opportunities on account that the states had more control to legislate all of that. Well, Curt Flood lost his case. His underlying position, however, was affirmed a handful of years later when MLB arbitrator Peter Seitz issued a historic ruling in favor of pitchers Andy Messersmith and Dave McNally. Seitz reasoned that MLB teams' renewal rights in player contracts were not perpetual. Previously, teams could renew players' contracts on a year-to-year basis with modest raises. As arbitration is a private system for dispute resolution, Seitz's ruling did not conflict with the policies in place from Holmes' ruling back in the 20s, but it did pave the way for free agency rights as collectively bargained by the MLB and the Players Association. Then, in 1998, President Bill Clinton signed the Curt Flood Act of 98, which expressly declared that, quote, MLB players are covered under the antitrust laws and have the same rights under the antitrust laws as do other professional athletes, end quote. That was a huge shot at Major League Baseball. What the 98 Curt Flood Act did was reaffirm that baseball and its teams cannot conspire to suppress the wages of MLB players. That is to say, they can't get together as owners, as ball clubs, and say to each other, hey, we don't think we're going to pay any pitcher more than $1 million a year. And every club could agree basically to have wage suppression and say, all right, as long as all 30 teams decide that they won't pay a pitcher more than X million dollars per year, then the pitchers are kind of locked into where they are. So they got rid of that. Now, what would happen if Congress fully repeals MLB's exemption? A complete repeal of the exemption would effectively transform baseball's vulnerability to antitrust scrutiny compared to that is experienced by the NBA, by the NFL, by the NHL, and other professional organizations. The league enjoys those leagues do enjoy some level of immunity, particularly concerning certain types of broadcasting contracts pursuant to the Sports Broadcasting Act of 61. Football, basketball, baseball, and hockey leagues are exempt from Section 1 of the Sherman Act so long as those deals concern sponsor broadcasting, meaning free over-the-air games, that is to say, not on cable or paid satellite services. And that is why so many games on satellite have been blocked out. That is why the MLB Network, for instance, you are in a Braves market, let's say, and the Braves don't sell out their Wednesday afternoon game because, well, it's Wednesday afternoon. The MLB Network can actually block you out of that game. They can actually black out that game on their own network, which kind of makes it pointless to own one, right? Well, they may infringe on that. They may attack that. MLB would prefer to maintain the exception, obviously, particularly with regard to the second group I talked about, which is minor league baseball. Sportico has a report out that details that minor league players led by attorney and retired MILB pitcher Garrett Brocious have sued MLB alleging violations of the Fair Labor Standards Act and state laws guaranteeing minimum wage and overtime pay. If MLB's antitrust exemption did not exist, those players could add claims under Section 1 of the aforementioned Sherman Act. They would argue MLB and its teams have joined hands to illegally price fix minor league baseball salaries, and they would have an argument for that. A successful Section 1 claims entail treble monetary damages. Antitrust law would empower minor league teams to adversely impacted by the minor league reorganization to explore antitrust claims. That is to say, minor league baseball teams could then get together and go after the restrictions that baseball has placed on them that would not be exempt if the exemption is pulled back, meaning that they would face a blizzard of lawsuits from minor league teams, and it would give minor league teams more control over their day-to-day operations up to and including how much they pay players, what it would take to move cities, etc., etc. This is not the first time that MLB has faced a threat by both Democratic and Republican members of Congress. Back in 2001, Democrat John Conyers of Michigan, Senator Paul Wellstone of Minnesota, also a Democrat, both introduced a bill to eliminate the exemption for Major League Baseball. It did not advance, and a good chunk of the reason was because then President George W. Bush was a former owner of the Texas Rangers, was still very big and connected to the to Major League Baseball, and they knew he would likely not sign it. A few years later, Senator John McCain, Republican, Arizona, questioned the merits of MLB's exemption while criticizing the MLB and MLBPA for steroid use during the steroid era. In 2015, McCain reached across the aisle to Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat from Connecticut. They teamed up to propose legislation that would have limited the exemption in response to concerns about pro games being blacked out. More recently, Representative Lori Trahan from Massachusetts, a Democrat, and the bipartisan Save Minor League Baseball Task Force signaled a desire to review legislatively MLB's legal protections in light of treatment of minor league teams. So, with all of that being said, with Senators Cruz, Hawley, and Lee coming after exemption, I'm going to say this, Lonzo. I am in favor of that legislation. I would love to see their antitrust exemptions, if we're talking optimism here, completely struck down, but at least limited in the way that minor league baseball teams are forced to operate, in the way that that broadcast rules are written, so that, yes, if I am paying my $199 a year or whatever it is for the MLB Network, if the Braves don't sell out a Wednesday 2:30 afternoon game, because, again, Wednesday at 2:30 in the afternoon, that game should still have to be broadcasted. That's why I paid that much to get the network. That's why I have to go and spend all this money every year just to watch a damn baseball game. I would love to see this go down, but here's the interesting part, Zoe. And I know we've made an effort to kind of drive non-sports related politics out of this, but we don't have a choice here. This is one of those places where sports and politics overlap with each other. Number one, Cruz, Hawley, and Lee are three of the senators that are considered off on the right that are, let's just call a spade here, severely disliked by many of their Democratic colleagues. I wonder if they will get any bipartisan support on this, which they would need for this legislation to move forward. Second off, MLB has a massive lobbying organization in D.C. that is proven to be very influential over the years. They have been known to hand out tons of money to politicians to consider that exemption protected from them. You know they are going to get involved. So I think it would be a good thing for this legislation to advance and eventually be enacted. I would say that if Democrats truly do consider workers' rights to be a staple of their platform, that this is something that they would get involved in, but it is being pushed by three very controversial senators, and I don't know if they're going to get that support, which I think is unfortunate, Lonzo. What a mess.
I don't think the senators are controversial, but that's just me. So, and other people. But when it comes down to, if these were three Democrats that had brought it up, chances are this would go through. But because it's not, and because of politics and the money that you were talking about that's involved, and as I said earlier, unfortunately, this will end up being a lot of chatter and nothing will come of it. And it's unfortunate because I think rather than looking at the good that it might do, they will look at who brought it up, and because of that, it won't go any further. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's now again, this issue has been attacked by legislators on both sides of the aisles for many years. Many Democrats have come after this exemption. Many Republicans have come after this exemption. I think it is, frankly, as somebody who wants this legislation to advance, I think that it is unfortunate that we have gotten to its advancement under the scenario that it is under. But at the same time, as I've mentioned, I will take a good result based on reasoning that I disagree with before I will take no action based on nothing at all. This should be a bipartisan issue. This should be one of those places that, both parties have, after the election last year, talked about wanting compromise and wanting to reach across the aisle. Well, this is a chance for them to put the money where the mouth is. This is a bipartisan issue that should be addressed. We will find out if they do indeed decide to do that. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307. The text line is open for you now, 71307. Start your text with ESPN on the Ingles Market text line, and tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, at ESPN Upstate. Quick break. We're back after this on The Rob Brown Show. Rob's OU. This is ESPN Upstate.
You ready? Get that texting finger.
By the way, apologies to you about the utility still being on, and it just goes to show what a professional you are, how you were able to get through that without going, what is that noise? And where this button is pushed so much, sometimes the light works and sometimes it doesn't. And I just happened to look over after I said something and noticed the light was on. It's like, oh no.
Doesn't bother me at all. I mean, if you were screaming.
Well, I was more considering the fact that the ladder movement and it was pretty noisy in here. Really so yeah. You got the TV fixed though.
Priorities, buddy. Yeah, it's no worries. I can as long as it's not like screaming in my ear, then it doesn't bother me all that much. Like I said, and obviously with StreamYard and with the Messenger, it's a little easier, but like. And this is those of you in the chat, you get to hear how backstage production works. If there is ever if you've got a caller that's been hanging on for a while or whatever, or we need to get out, you will not throw me off by talking into my ears though. So if we got somebody hanging and I don't see the message, you can just tell me caller.
Oh, I will do that anyway, even if it does bother you. But I would rather text, because there are some people that I've worked with before who they're not used to having someone in their ear while they're trying to talk. And as I've been on the other side, it can be distracting and it can cause you to hesitate and things like that. Chances are people listening won't even notice if you do it right.
Oh, there's Steven. I wondered when he was going to make the first purple crack. Hello. Purple is a good idea. I look damn good, Steven. And you don't even need to say I know, because I know you know. Stop, drop, up and down, open up shop. Oh, no.
Thought you were saying stop, drop, and roll. I was like, are you watching, Schoolhouse Rock or something? Cool.
Rough Riders roll. Now, I was flipping through the Spotify last night, and came across an old DMX playlist.
How many songs do you have on your Spotify?
I have to open it and look. I roll by playlist.
Yeah.
And I have one that I call the ultimate playlist, which is basically just every song that I like gets automatically added to that playlist. And I would say that one's probably, I don't know, 3,500 songs deep at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought I had a lot by having nearly 800, but
I'm at like 3,500 on my liked list. But I mean, it's also, Zoe, it's everything from every classic rock song you've ever heard, every early 2000s hip hop song ever. It is my folksy singer songwriter list. I mean, when I tell people, like, it annoys me when people go, "Oh, I'll listen to anything," and then you look at their playlist and it's like 2 genres of music.
Well, you've heard some of mine, and I've heard you and Chris comment on some of it, but that's fine. I mean, I am very eclectic also. So
yeah, I've got everything from like Pavarotti to Master P to Paradise to.
I just added a song from the new Tetris game, and I don't even remember what it's called. Yours Forever, I think it is. Just because if you play the game in VR, the music's in your ears the whole time, and when the blocks drop, the beat drops on the song. It's actually on Game Pass. You should try it.
You got a VR headset?
Yes, I do.
Is it worth it?
Eventually,
That's my thing.
there's a move about to happen in my house. When it does and things are situated, I will invite you over so you can use it.
Yeah, the last girl I dated had an 8-year-old, and his dad bought him a VR headset, and I played with it. I mean, it seemed like it's got
real, unfiltered sports talk brewed locally.
Oh my God, a hipster! Bring him on my
Next break.
This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Lonzo, you 844 GSP ESPN. Text us on the Ingalls Market text line at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read it on the air. Lonzo, interest level. There is a documentary. The next ESPN 30 for 30 has been announced. It is untitled so far, but it explores the story of the greatest sports franchise of all time, Lonzo, American Gladiators, which ran from 89 to 96. It was rebooted by NBC in 2008, lasted for just a little while. The project will focus on many of the larger-than-life former gladiators. It is being produced by the same guy. If you have not seen it, it's on Netflix, I believe. But Ben Berman, who directed do you remember The Amazing Jonathan, Lonzo?
Yes, I do.
Okay. The Amazing Jonathan was one of my favorite comedians of all time. All right. Dirty raunchy, did cheap magic on stage, and it was absolutely hysterical. There's a phenomenal documentary on him on Netflix developed by Ben Berman, and he will direct this one as well. The 30 for 30 has given us Rodman for better or worse, which we talked about on the air. Vic, Lance, Bruce Lee's Be Water, The Long Gone Summer about Maguire and Sosa, The Life and Trials of Oscar Pistorius, and others. It is being produced by Vice Studios, which is the production arm of the company that put out the Netflix Firefest spectacle documentary, which was great. The Dark Side of the Ring documentary series, which is great if you're a wrestling fan, and others. A full documentary, Lonzo, on American Gladiators. I know the answer is 10, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about that?
I'm very excited because I have a major story about an American Gladiator, an interaction that I had with Storm that turned out almost really bad in studio thing. And I don't know if we have enough time. We don't have enough time right now.
Of course I'm going to make enough time for this.
Well, we probably should do it after the break.
Okay,
I'm just saying.
All right, deal. So we will talk about that when we come back here in just a minute. Lonzo got challenged to run the gauntlet against Storm. In my head, that's what happened until he tells us otherwise. I'm Rob. He's Zoe. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
Yep.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
The official healthcare providers for both the Gamecocks of South Carolina and the Tigers of Clemson are Prisma Health. Look, let's be honest with each other. At the end of the day, the most important priority to those athletic departments at those two major universities are their athletes and the health of those athletes. Clemson football, South Carolina basketball, none of it matters if the athletes can't get and stay healthy. And that is why both of those universities have partnered with Prisma Health to be the official healthcare provider of said universities. And they want to be the official healthcare provider for your team, your department. That is you and your family. On their website, prismahealth.org, you can check out all of their locations. There are a ton of them around the upstate and the Midlands. And on top of that, let's be honest, while it's great to have a convenient hospital, some of us will actually drive even further if we find a doctor that we like and that we trust. Well, Prisma has over 2,400 healthcare providers within their network, so you can find the doctor that is right for you. You can also go to their website and schedule an appointment. Use their MyChart feature to keep all of your healthcare information streamlined and easily accessible so you can work with Prisma to maximize your healthcare experience. Check out their website at prismahealth.org to learn more. Find a doctor, find a location, and schedule that appointment. Go to prismahealth.org for more information. It's our friends at Prisma Health here in the upstate. Yeah, I didn't think that baseball story would get a lot of response and traction, though. But I also felt it was important enough to have the discussion. Agree or disagree?
Oh, absolutely. It's worth a discussion. I mean, I hate being negative about it, but politics are involved, and things rarely get done when politics are involved.
Yeah, I tried to frame it in a way that we didn't go down a tangent on it, primarily because this is an issue that has been attacked frequently by both Democrats and Republicans. But I just thought there might be at least some desire to fire back.
I wonder I wonder if it's coincidence that when Democrats are in power, Republicans bring it up, and when Republicans are in power, Democrats bring it up, which dooms it nearly from the beginning. I'm just saying, Democrats have all the power right now. Why aren't they the ones bringing it up? That just makes me think nothing's going to get done.
Well, I agree, but I think the other thing is, look, we're here, at least for me anyway. We're here on a sports talk station. This is a topic that has a massive impact on us as as fans of this sport, and we still get, well, so far we've got no feedback on it at all. It just seems to me like it's one of those stories that, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. It's a relatively deep story. It's a relatively deep story that you would have to put a lot of effort into. And considering politics is as much of performance art as it is anything else, if you're a state legislator or, I mean, even all the way up to a senator, it would take a ton of effort. You know, baseball is going to push back on you hard. It would be something you would have to put a ton of effort into that clearly gets very little response from the American people. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things of, is it worth all the effort to put in to go up against an $11 billion a year industry when the people who vote for me at the end of my term really don't seem to care all that much about it?
Yeah, I get it. I do. If it was football, it would be different. I think you'd get a little more reaction if it had to do with football. I think the fact that it's baseball comes into play also. 30 seconds. And I know you're a baseball hater. No, it's just that it's baseball. I just had to look up the year when I had this almost altercation with Storm. Man, it was a long time ago.
Every weekday noon to 3. This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
An American Gladiators documentary is the next 30 for 30 that will be dropping on ESPN Upstate. I am pumped. I cannot tell you how much American Gladiators I used to watch in the day, but then I got told by the great one that he has actually had a direct experience with what is one of the American Gladiators, Lonzo.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I guess it was around 2001, 2002. So it was a while ago when I was doing the very first sports show that I was a part of on WORD, which was the Gamecock warm-up show. We were on before Gamecocks, obviously, and there was a local women's professional football team, and on that professional football team was Storm from American Gladiators. So they were pushing the league, wanting to get people out, so they came in to studio for me and two other guys. We were there were three of them and three of us, and we were interviewing them. So during the interview, one of the other guys roped me into arm wrestling Storm. So every time I would say something snarky, as we're leading up to this, Storm would smack me in the arm. To the point, her hands are bigger than mine, and she was still pretty jacked at the time. The next couple of days, I had a bruise on my bicep. I mean, it was just, she was tearing me up every time she hit me. And of course, she was trying to get my arm kind of weak for when we arm wrestled. So it came down to it. We were getting ready to arm wrestle, and there was a weird angle. And I got to admit, and I've admitted before, I cheated. I moved my arm at an angle, so there was no way that she could beat me. So after one, by the way, if I lost, I was going to have to go through the gauntlet. That was part of it. That was part of it. Yes. Which still would have been winning. So after I beat her, she got mad. She looked like she was going to tackle me. So, and there was a glass door behind me in the old studio when we were on Rutherford. So she charges at me like this, arms full on, like she's going to tackle me. And instead, she wraps her arms around me and kisses me on the cheek. And here's the bad part. we were videotaping the whole thing. This was before social media and all this kind of stuff. So I get home, the first thing my wife wants to see is the video. I'm like, yeah, you don't want to see the video. You definitely, you don't want to see it. And she was not happy with me. I'm like, if you look, I'm breaking down the video. If you watch, I'm bracing. You see that I'm bracing. I'm thinking she's going to hit me. It was unexpected. I had no idea that she was going to do this. And then what are you supposed to do after? I mean, it's just like, I'm just sitting there shocked. And, but I did win the arm wrestling match and I didn't have to go through the gauntlet, but maybe I should have lost on purpose to go through it because I always wanted to do that.
Lonzo, you had an opportunity.
All right, here's what it comes down to, Rob. I'm not losing on purpose to anything and anybody. I don't care if it's my kids. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it costs me my job. If I'm going up against Steve in something, I'm going to try to win. That's what it comes to. I don't care what winning is all that matters.
I respect your pride. I get it. I used to have some of it myself. Look at me now. I respect your pride, but if somebody came to me right now and said, hey, we're going to put you in this competition, and if you lose, you get $1 million, I will start with my hand down. If you got a chance to take on the actual American Gladiators, and then all you had to do was lose an arm wrestling contest to do it, so I wouldn't even done the arm wrestling contest. I would have just forfeited the match, declared taking an L, and done that. You had a chance to live the dream, man, to live the childhood dream. We all wanted to do that as kids. It is your chance to win $1,000 in the $1,000 cash dash here on ESPN Upstate. Your keyword for this upcoming 1 o'clock hour is jump, J-U-M-P, jump. You're going to text that keyword jump, J-U-M-P, to 72881, 72881. Powered by BetQL. Let BetQL's proven data and analytics help you become a better. Download the BetQL app today. Text JUMP, J-U-M-P, to 72881 for your chance to win $1,000 in the $1,000 cash dash on ESPN Upstate. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll have a little bit more about that baseball story just around the corner. Mel Kiper Jr.'s mock draft. Do you like the pick of the Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver from the University of Alabama? And plenty more. Rob, Lonzo, and you on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate.
So obviously, I'm very interested in this documentary. So I can say, hey, I arm wrestled her. And other things.
I arm wrestled her. I'm all in. I loved that show as a kid, man. Loved that show as a kid.
By the way, we have Jason online, wants to talk about baseball.
All right. Perfect.
Can't wait to add this Arms of an Angel promo to our Star Award submission next year.
Man, check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Our Nibbit of the Rob Brown Show is right here on ESPN Upstate. Hello and welcome back. Great to be with you. I am Rob Brown. How do you do? The great one Lonzo back at the network studio in charge of button switches, gears, pulleys, levers, knobs, everything that needs to be twisted, turned, and otherwise manipulated in order to get us on the air. A lot of stuff we're talking about today on the broadcast. Big news out of the world of baseball as 3 Republican senators, Lee, Cruz, and Hawley, have come together to propose legislation that would roll back Major League Baseball's antitrust exemptions, making them susceptible to the same rules and guidelines for the most part that other professional sports leagues around the country are subject to. Baseball has for many years enjoyed that exemption, and it impacts us as fans in a big way. Zoe and I were having a conversation off the air, and this is why you should absolutely join us on the live stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, on Twitter at The Rob Brown Show or at Lonzo on Word, or search us on YouTube at The Rob Brown Show. Zoe and I were talking, and, I said, look, I'll honestly tell you, I didn't really expect when I put this into the show prep today, I didn't really expect that I was going to get a ton of response from you guys as listeners, because it is not that it's a deep topic and people aren't interested in it. But it is a deep topic. There are a lot of moving parts to it, a lot of different targets to it. And then Zoe put out the theory that, hey, man, anytime you put out something where sports and politics headbutt each other, you're going to have people that are kind of turned off by it a little bit. And I don't think he's wrong on that half of the logic and reasoning either, to tell you the truth. But it is still, to me, a big story. It is still, to me, a big story. It's an important story as it impacts so many of us as baseball fans, especially those of us, for instance, that love minor league baseball and want to see minor league baseball have an opportunity to be successful from town to town. Those of us who love watching baseball weekday afternoons but do not have access to it because baseball blacks out games, even though they're taking place at Wednesday afternoon. It's a massive story, Lonzo, but the reason I think that so many times both Democrats and Republicans in Congress have attacked the antitrust legislation that have attacked the exemption from the antitrust legislation, but gotten nowhere with it, I am pretty convinced the primary reason is because we as fans don't get more involved. We don't get more involved. We don't support it. We don't get out there and say we want it to happen, and we think baseball should lose the exemption and should have to be moved away from that, et cetera, et cetera. And because we don't respond to it, because we don't get out there, politicians who would have the power to change the legislation, to change where baseball stands and what baseball is allowed to do with these exemptions, et cetera, they don't see that there is support for it. They don't see that they're going to earn more votes for it, that people are going to say, hey, these guys attacked baseball and we're on board with that. Because I'll tell you, Zoe, people who aren't baseball fans don't care. And the majority of people who are baseball fans just have the attitude of, I just want to watch my game and then go away. They don't really care about the minutia of the legislation and the benefits baseball has. And because of all that, so even though I think it is very important, and I think a lot of people are in favor of it, at the end of the day, there's only a small percentage of Americans that actually support legislators who make this push. Therefore, they don't really have any inspiration to do it.
I'm curious. if the only reason why this is being brought to light is because of the All-Star game being moved, and if it hadn't been, would this even be out there? And obviously I'm anti-politics on a lot of things, and I don't believe they get a lot of things done that they should get done. And I also believe that it's kind of funny that the Republicans bring it up when Democrats are in power. Democrats bring it up when Republicans are in power. This to me is just saying, hey, look at us, we're doing something. And that's what it looks like to me. I hope they're able to push this through, but I just think it's a lot of talk.
So first off, it absolutely and only is being brought up because of Major League Baseball's All-Star Game move. That's it. That's the only reason. In fact, these three senators, Cruz, Hawley, and Lee, have all said that it was inspired by baseball's decision to move the All-Star Game. Now, you and I have both talked about this over the course of the week. I think, Zoe, correct me if I'm wrong, we have both landed on the same spot, which is, hey, baseball is a business. It is their business to run as they see fit. If you are genuinely that upset that they have moved the All-Star Game, then stop watching baseball. It's capitalism. Vote with your dollars. There should not be legislation to punish them for it. That being said, while I am against legislation to publish Major League Baseball for moving their All-Star Game, as I think private businesses should be left alone to operate as they see fit, I think this is one of those times, Lonzo, and I don't know if this makes me a hypocrite or not, but legislation that is positive, that will make baseball better, in my opinion, even if the underlying catalyst for said legislation taking place is something that I disagree with. I have long thought that the antitrust exemptions should be lifted, should be taken away from baseball. And if this is what it takes to make that finally happen, so be it, Zoe.
Yeah, as far as whichever side brings it up, I don't care. If they take care of this, great. And I hate being so negative about it, but I've just the fact that it's been brought up many times and nothing's ever been done doesn't mean that it can't get done. It absolutely could get done, but both sides have to decide that this is a fight that they want to take on, and they have to do it. Now, going forward, hopefully they will. We'll just have to wait and see.
All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP, ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Start your text with ESPN 71307. Jason is on the line to talk a little baseball with us. Jason, thanks for taking a minute and hanging on, bud. Great to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. You already touched on one of the points I was going to make, why you don't think it will pass, and the timing of it and everything, and with the conservative Republican senators, politics is politics, and however you feel on that, and whatever way side politics is politics. Also, I guess, the antitrust push, has started probably after the strike, I guess, probably with Clinton. Five presidents since then. It's not passed then. Why would, the last several presidents, why would it pass now? And
I fully don't expect this. I don't expect, Jason, I don't expect this to go anywhere. I think it's one of those things that's going to have to be brought to light dozens and dozens and dozens of times before it ever gets enough. So I don't expect this is going to change anything. All I can hope for, if we're being honest with each other, Jason, is that the same thing will happen that happened in the 60s, that happened in the 80s, et cetera, which is there's a big push for legislation to be changed. It doesn't go, but one little thing changes. We had in the 1960s where the restriction on wage suppression by MLB teams was changed. In the 1990s, Bill Clinton signed on a couple of little pieces of legislation that took away little bits and pieces of the exemption. It is going, unfortunately, to be a very slow process. But that process only takes place if the hammer repeatedly hits the stone, if you get what I'm saying.
That's true. Blackouts. I don't understand. Okay, I guess I sort of understand the point of it. It doesn't work. The thing is, if you want to go to watch the Braves, you want to go to watch, I don't know, the Rangers, the Astros, whatever, any team, you're going to go. And if you just notice, well, hey, it's going to be a blackout. I want to go watch the Braves. I better go watch them. You know, for me, you're hurting yourself. For one, the advertisers, and you're hurting them. I don't know. I wonder what they think of it. They're not able to advertise their product as many people, and you're hurting your team. You're not exposing your team to potential new fans, you know, and different things like that. You know, in today's world, you know, attendance is not as high as it used to be across all sports, and it's just that would be frustrating to me. You know, blackouts are frustrating.
No,
I want to watch them on TV. I want to watch my team and support my team. What's wrong with that?
Absolutely. Jason, appreciate the call. Great to have you on the air, buddy. I appreciate the time. 844-GSP, ESPN 844-477-3776 is the number. Yeah, look, blackouts are incredibly frustrating. Last week, or what was it, 2 weeks ago, opening day, the Braves had a game opening day. Everybody was pumped about it. I'm getting ready, and I go online, and all I see are 10,000 Braves fans on Twitter going, well, I wish I could watch the game, but I can't get to it. I can't access it because of this new deal that the MLB has signed with Bally Sports. I can't see the game, and it was wildly disappointing. And I'm not saying that I went and found an illegal stream to watch the game because it was my only option. I definitely would not say that I did that. But you really don't have options. You really don't have options. And blackouts are frustrating. Look, if a game is at 2:30 on a Wednesday afternoon in Atlanta, it's already tough enough to get people in the stadium. Why wouldn't so that's one of the things that makes this exemption conversation to me as a fan so important, because I would love to see some of these broadcast rules changes. Now, to some degree, I guess I am being hypocritical because as we have said about the All-Star game, baseball is free to operate as it sees fit. And if baseball wants to make it incredibly difficult for fans to watch those games, then yes, I guess I as a fan have to decide if I want to put the money into baseball to watch those games from the house or just stop and tune in to the games that are on cable and free. But the exemptions are so wide and give baseball so much freedom to make the game inaccessible that I have an issue with it, Zoe. And that is why this is one of just a very small topic, a very small number of bipartisan topics where we have seen over years. And you pointed out very succinctly that it seems to be Republicans bringing it up when the Democrats are in charge, Democrats bringing it up when the Republicans are in charge, with one rare exception, which was in the 90s when Clinton was in control. But outside of that, yeah, it's one of those topics that I think, it gets you some play on TV. It gets you some play in the sports circles, as most fans seem to be behind it. But at the end of the day, you don't really have to do a whole hell of a lot for something that's not going to give you a lot of support, because you can just go, hey, I tried to push it, but baseball's too strong. Give me more power, and maybe next time we'll get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you wanted more of a response, but I think in the immortal words of Rob Brown, you nailed it.
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
I did a good day today. Let's take a break. Come back here in just a minute. Plenty more to talk about on the show today. Yesterday, it looked like one of the biggest events in sports this year was off. Today, it's back on. We'll get Zoe's reaction to that next on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Welcome to everybody on the stream. Great to have you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. You got some thoughts? Leave them in the chat. Steven says, did you watch the U.S. women's match? I did, against France. 2-0 winners. Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, both notching goals for the 2-0 dub over France. Looked better than the game last weekend, Steven. Offensively, looked much tighter in the attacking third. In fact, Rapinoe had what I think should have been a second goal called off due to an offsides penalty that I disagreed with the referee's assistant who raised the flag on that. I absolutely thought it was she was onside
and it was a good goal, which should have been a 3-0 victory and a pair of goals for Megan Rapinoe. But look, offensively look much tighter. I know they're kind of in a weird spot right now getting prepped for the Olympics, which, by the way, are 100 days away from today. And I want to see that progression. We've saw an influx of younger players onto the roster. We're starting to see them get some time in spots here and there. You still got the stalwart leadership up there. Carly Lloyd was in there for a while. Alex Morgan got the goal. Megan Rapinoe as well. I think this is probably the last Olympics for a good chunk of the old guard. And they're trying to start working a youth movement in there. But I hope they find the balance in the next 100 days because, look, the rest of the world is catching up with U.S. women's soccer. I think we've seen that just in the friendlies in this Olympic cycle. The rest of the sports world is catching up with women's soccer. And if we don't find that balance between our old leaders and the new guard, we will get caught. We will get caught. But yeah, I did see it, Stephen. I was happy but not satisfied. I was happy but not satisfied, I think is the best way that I can put it. Sorry about that.
So going back to our discussion about VR earlier, I got it because, well, it was purchased for me for Christmas because when Skyrim came out on VR. And so the very first game that I played on VR was Skyrim. And the problem with that is you're comparing every game that comes out after to that. And it's such an amazing experience. When the dragon flies overhead, you look up and you see the dragon and you feel like you can touch it. There were some problems where I have some vertigo with heights and I was concerned, but I stood on the top of a mountain and looked down and I was okay. So then the next game I got was a game called Farpoint, which comes with an aim controller. And when it's shaped like a gun, you hold it up, no matter which gun you have in the game, it's in your hands. And you're facing aliens on a planet that you crash landed in a pod. You're in the pod and you feel like you're in the pod. You can't help it but to scrunch your arms in and stuff because you're in this pod. And then there are face huggers. And when they jump at you, you can't help but duck. So I think it depends on the game that you're playing. Those are two of the better games I played. And then I played some clunkers that I was really upset that I paid for. But those two are really, really good. But Skyrim spoiled me.
I watch on YouTube some dudes that play VR games just because I was curious about it as to whether or not, because I may very well get it. I'm trying to decide if my next investment is going to be the
30 seconds
next step up the new gen consoles, or if I'm going to put it into VR. But I don't know. I don't think Xbox has VR.
They don't
access yet. So I'm kind of obligated. I'm going to have to go PlayStation and then VR.
More than the scores, the ups and downs, the ins and outs. Real, unfiltered sports talk. It's the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. To the world of mixed martial arts we go for just a minute. Yesterday, we talked about the fact that Conor McGregor had said on Twitter that his fight with Dustin Poirier was off. He said, good luck, I'll find somebody else to fight, after Poirier called him out for not coming through with a $500,000 donation that he told Conor McGregor, or that Conor McGregor told Dustin Poirier he would come through with for his foundation, the Good Fight Foundation. But then this morning, Conor McGregor spoke with ESPN's Ariel Helwani and said, quote, I signed the bout agreement this morning. I'm going to rip this game a new blank hole July 10th. The MAC is back in Sin City. Full house. UFC also announced that there would be a capacity crowd present at UFC 264 July 10th in Vegas. The pay-per-view card will be held at T-Mobile Arena, headlined by the rubber stamp between McGregor and Poirier. White said, quote, I'm so happy to finally be able to say Vegas is back. This summer, Las Vegas is back open for business. And on July 10th, UFC 264 will be at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas at 100% capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 20,000 fans. End quote. That comes a day after Nevada Governor Steve Sisolak announced a goal to remove social distancing restrictions by May 1st and reach 100% capacity across the state effective June 1st. A statewide mask mandate, however, will remain in place. So far, the UFC has held events in Vegas, Florida, and Abu Dhabi at Fight Island since the pandemic began. 261 on April 24th features 3 title fights and will be held in Jacksonville. It'll be the first pay-per-view with a capacity crowd since March of 2020. But the big story here, Zoe, Poirier and McGregor apparently have signed their bout contract, which means we are going to get the rubber stamp match between these two, despite evidence to the contrary yesterday.
Remember yesterday, though, neither one of us believed the fight was really off. Neither one of us believed that. And so I'm not surprised when I saw this morning that yes, the fight is still on. I am excited after all the inbred cracks and stuff like that Conor is coming at this full force, not like he did last time. He was kind of tame. He was when he came to the ring, he didn't look like himself. If he comes to the ring like he used to come to the ring, whether you like him or not, and the fact that he's out there saying all this stuff, talking all this stuff to build up this fight, I think there might be a different result this time. But I'm glad that it's going forward, and yes, I will purchase it.
All right, 844-477-3776 is the number, 844-GSP-ESPN. Let's do this. We're going to run to a break just a couple of minutes early here. Coming up in the next segment, Marion Cole is with the Greenville Triumph. She is going to join us coming up in the next segment, as we are just a few weeks away from the home season opener on May 1st against the North Texas Soccer Club. The first match of the season is less than 2 weeks away on April 24th, when the Triumph travel to Virginia to take on the Richmond Kickers. They have one preseason game left. We're going to speak with Marion Cole from the Greenville Triumph coming up next on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Marion should be calling Enzo. FYI.
Okay. Marion standing by.
Perfecto.
If you will, send me how to spell her name.
I can just tell you. MarionCole.
Cool.
That bass line gets stuck in my head every time.
Sports junkies.
These pathetic junkies? Oh, look at them.
You eat sports like food every day. Get hooked on the Rob Brown Show, noon to 3 every weekday on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, and now on the phone line, we welcome a special guest every Wednesday. Moving forward, we're very excited about this. Every Wednesday moving forward, we will be doing a segment at 1:20 in the afternoon where we talk a little Greenville Triumph soccer. Your reigning, defending, undisputed USL League One champions getting play started here in just a couple of weeks. Media relations manager, Miss Marion Cole, joins us here on the show. Marion, what up, girl? Great to have you. Thanks for taking a minute.
What's up, Rob? I need you around all the time for that kind of an introduction. Just walking around my daily life, introducing me like that.
Be happy to. Here's what I need, Marion, and I've told Doug this. I've told Chris this. I've told Harks this. I told all three of them this on the air, and they said yes, so they're obligated. I'm going to do it to you. I will do that for you, Marion, as soon as I get that new jersey with the star on it, because I need the star, Marion. We earned the star. I feel like I'm taking
Rob,
2% of the credit for that.
I feel like someone should have gotten you that by now. So all right, look, this is me. You know what? The boys, sometimes they can't be trusted. So this is me. You can trust me. Absolutely. We will have you a jersey with the star on it at your very first Greenville Triumph game this season, which, dude, is like, what, a week away? How crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you need it done, put a woman in charge. Marion Cole, my new hero. And I will tell Chris that to his face. Marion Cole joining us here on the show. Let's start, Marion. Let's start with this offseason. And I want to ask you this from the perspective of somebody who's in the front office. I mean, you were on the field and you have been vital to not just game day operations, but I have told people since I moved here, I've told you this to your face. One of the things I've loved about getting to know the professional sports organizations here in town, you guys, the Drive, the Swamp Rabbits, is that I have never been in a place where those organizations have spent more time and put more effort into building phenomenal relations with the community itself. And it's a two-way street. You are a huge chunk of that. What has that been like for you since you got here? And what has that been this offseason after that star got added to the crest?
Well, first of all, let's go back to what you're saying. And I just feel grateful and satisfied to hear that, because at the core of what we're doing here in our mission statement for the Greenville Triumph, it is to bridge this community together through the game of soccer. Whatever economic, whatever background kind of standing that you have, like, our goal is to use the game of soccer to bridge that gap, to bring this community together. So I'm fully grateful to hear that. I'm so glad that you feel that way. But it's like you said, though, man, it is totally a two-way street, because we can put all this energy and all this effort out there, but if you don't get a response back, just that can feel disheartening, right? But we have continuously, time and time again, put the energy out there to the community, and the community has given us back, twofold, threefold. So it speaks to us as an organization, yes, but it just speaks to really just the good heart of the people of the upstate that have made this such an exciting 2 seasons going on 3. So how it's been for me, leading up to this, I came in July of our first season. So I didn't really get to see the Triumph from, the very, very beginning. I was kind of thrown into the mix in the season, and it was great to see them go through, not having a great season at the start of 2019 to really turning up and obviously getting into the league finals in the 2019 season, man. And then COVID hit, and you're just like, what is going to be the response? You just have no idea how the community is going to respond. You don't know how, your league's going to end up happening. There were so many things out of our control. And to me, the most rewarding thing, other than having a star on our crest now after winning a championship season, is just the fact that we kept our heads down as a front office, as a technical staff. Harks did it with the players. Doug and Chris and Joe, they did it with us at the front office. We just kept our head down, and we kept that mission statement of being kind of a shining light in the community at the forefront. And to be honest, that was kind of how we got through last season. And then we get a championship star out of it. And now I feel like our expectations are even bigger for not only what we want to do as far as the community goes and as stuff begins to open back up, but just also on the field. We have a lot of expectations. We have a huge target on our back now, and it's going to be an exciting season, to say the least.
We are speaking with Marion Cole. She is the media relations manager for the Greenville Triumph, and for just about every interaction that you see between the Triumph and the community, Marion is a if not the huge driving force behind that. One of the things that I've thoroughly enjoyed as well, Marion, interacting with the supporters groups here in the other, whether it is the Reedy River Riot or La Familia or any of the other groups that have sprung up over time. And it's those groups springing up are not just a testament to how great the fans are. And I've been in a lot of towns. There are soccer teams, and I have not experienced anything like I've experienced here in the Ville. Mm-hmm. But those supporters groups only pop up and stay successful and have the numbers and the passion behind them if the team itself is willing to dive in and help and support and create that relationship and foster that relationship. Absolutely. And I think that kind of speaks to that, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think that, one of the, obviously, as the South soccer begins to grow, it's less of a concern. But obviously, even just 2 years ago, there's always that question of, will a professional soccer team stick in the South? We're football, we're baseball, we're all of these things. And typically soccer's not in that equation. But we have had, like you're saying, a supporter group like no other. I mean, and I've been to games too. Me and you both, we have seen professional soccer, and the Reedy River Riot, the La Familia, they will rival anyone with their energy and their passion. And they are a huge reason to why they have gotten other parts of the community involved. Even the people that aren't involved in those supporter groups they have seen the energy and the passion from the supporter groups. And, normal mom and dads have now become invested in our team because they see so many other people invested in it. So they are a huge part of our success. But it's like you're saying, if our team, one, doesn't perform well in the field, we're no fun to watch, right? And then two, if we don't give that same energy back to them and let them know they're appreciated, why would they ever show up? So I have been so impressed with John Harkes and with Joe Irwin about how they have made that a point for the players, for the front office. Like, this is who we're doing this for. Yes, it's cool to be a professional soccer player. And yeah, it's cool to work in a front office of sports. But these people that are in the stands cheering you on, tailgating at your games, those are the people that we're putting on a performance for, whether that performance is on the field or, as a member of the front office, and just making sure it's a cool game day experience.
And I want to talk about that game day experience. Now, I moved here to the Ville about 11 days before the lockdown started. I was thrilled. I know, perfect timing. I was thrilled that you guys had a season, that you guys were even under COVID restrictions, allowing people to come out to matches and all that. All of that was fantastic. And even in COVID restrictions, the game day experience, as far as I was concerned, was absolutely top-notch for you guys last year. How important is it for you guys not just to have a product on the field? Because, listen, I've been to places with great game day experiences, but the team sucked. And it kind of takes away from it a little bit. They got to have a great product on the field. But to match that product on the field with a game day experience when people leave Legacy Early College, they know that they have gotten to sit through something that is special in the world of sports. A, how important is that to you guys? And B, give us a little background about some of the conversations and the way that you guys operate to make sure that happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hugely important. And I think part of a successful sports team is having this trust between your technical staff, your players on the field, and your front office staff. So we trust the technical staff. We trust Harkes to coach his players and the players to perform. And like you're saying, put that great product on the field. But the same way, they have to trust us to make the experience worthwhile to come for. And so I think building that trust is something that's hugely important just within our organization. And to be honest, we're not only putting that show on for fans and for people that buy tickets, but we are putting that show on for the players. Because I can't tell you, Rob, how I get to talk to these guys every week, and last year I can't tell you how many times they said to me, just the energy of the stadium is dead with no one in it. That the game is just not quite the same. And so I'm not even sure sometimes that fans realize how much energy and how much success they can help bring to a team. And so if we can play a huge part in that and put on a successful game day experience, bring more of those fans out, that just makes our team on the field so much better. And then, you know what? We're winning championships every year. Am I right?
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's huge. Now, as far as behind the scenes stuff, I mean, it's like you're saying, it's a show, and it takes a lot of people to put these games on. We are excited to finally, to have fans kind of back into the stadium. There will of course, be some COVID restrictions and some COVID rules that we'll relay as the time gets closer. But, we show up at the field at, we have some people setting up the stadium at 8 a.m. that morning, and they're not stopping working until, 12 p.m. that night, trying to get the stadium all ready and broken down. So it is a long production. It does take a lot of energy. Our front office does an incredible job just with all of the moving parts. But one thing that fans can kind of expect as far as behind the scenes footage goes with players, I do an Instagram live on our Greenville Triumph Instagram every single home game. And I give you a live look into the warm-ups. I give you a live look into, their locker room, what they're doing, the vendors that will be there. So if people ever want to know, is Bridge City Coffee going to be there? Is this sponsor going to be there? Is DJ Arts Water Ice going to be there? Is Rob Brown going to be there? I will have all of that always on our Instagram live page.
First off, the answer is yes, he will be. I can go ahead and answer that one preemptively.
As a DJ, though, you and DJ Shaw.
I'm fine with it. DJ fan, if you guys need somebody to play left back, I'm in. I'm in for all of it. Marion Cole is the media relations director for the Greenville Triumph, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show. and ESPN Upstate. Every Wednesday through the season, we will be doing a segment with somebody from the Triumph. We'll be joined by Coach John Harkes. We'll be joined by players, Chris Lewis, Doug and Joe Irwin. I mean, the whole staff. And I love how when Marion and I kicked this idea back and forth, she just hit me with a blitz of names of people who are going to be involved. And I'm very excited about that. When you guys are looking this year, you mentioned earlier, target on the back. I talked with both Chris and Coach Harkes in the last couple of weeks, and both of them have said the same thing, that the attitude is not, we are not going out there to defend the trophy. We're going out there to attack and keep it. And I love that. And that kind of aggressive pursuit of excellence, I think, is what has stood out to me from the Triumph. But whether it's Joe and Doug at the top, whether it's Chris as the president, John Harkes as the head coach, you guys in media relations, I think that aggressive attitude is kind of what makes the Triumph stand apart from other teams, not just in USL, but really in soccer around the country. I think it's a big chunk of the reason that we are seeing the soccer community grow tremendously across the Carolinas. We got an MLS team coming to Charlotte starting up next year. Big announcement coming from MLS and Henry McMaster, the governor, today, which I think is, I'm waiting on to hear what that is, which I think will be massively impressive. And I think you guys get a lot of credit for doing that here in the Upstate, Marion, which leads me to kind of really more praise than a question. That effort from you guys is being rewarded, I think deservedly so. And I'm very happy. I think we are very fortunate to have you guys here and you guys to have such a great soccer fan base in the area. So congratulations to everybody involved.
Thank you. No, and again, it's just, that's what Joe and Doug and Chris founded this team on. You know, it's more, and Joe will be quite frank with you. You know, he'll tell you for him, it has nothing to do with the wins and losses. And I will go as far as and say that I personally like to win, so I appreciate the championships. But for him and for a lot of our ownership group, this community is the founding factor, the driving force, how we make all of our decisions, you know, about how we're going to attack, you know, certain protocols, how we're going to attack, you know, like you're saying, attack a second trophy instead of defending it. That the community is how we have shaped our attitude as a front office and as a technical staff. And I think it speaks volumes that we have been so successful in that, but also just that the community has welcomed us with open arms. Because like I said before, you can do all the work, you can put in all the effort, but if the community is not there to have your back and to kind of wrap their arms around you and say you're welcome here, then it all means nothing. So, I mean, the Upstate community response has just been incredible. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see Legacy Early College packed again. I can't wait to see what these guys do on the field this year. It's a huge group of veteran players and returning guys. So it'll be exciting. You know, I think we have 6 players that have played all 3 seasons now with the Greenville Triumph. So fans are getting to know these guys a little bit more, and games are just going to be more fun with fans there.
Marion Cole is the media relations director for the Greenville Triumph. She's a friend of mine on and off the air. Looking for first off, Marion, and I am going to say this on the radio. First and foremost, at one of the games I got to attend last year, you told me pregame, we win this game, I shotgun a beer with you. That hasn't happened yet, and they won the damn match, Marion. I'm just saying, I'm holding you to that.
Hey, you come, and look, we can tell all the radio listeners, y'all can all hold me to this. If you come to our first home game, May 1st, we win, that still stands. Actually, I'll give you 2 because I owe you 1. How about that?
Perfect.
All or nothing.
Perfect.
Double or nothing, actually.
Perfect. You can go ahead and bank on it. I will already be there with kit in hand, preferably one with a star on it, Marion. And we are throwing down in the fan section. Can't wait.
Absolutely, Rob. Always such a pleasure to talk to you. I can't wait to see you soon, man.
Looking forward to it. Miss Marion Cole, the media relations manager for the Greenville Triumph. She's a fantastic person and just one of many that do great things with the Triumph. Every Wednesday at 1:20 throughout the season, we will be featuring different members of the Triumph organization, from the president up to the owner, all the way to the head coach and some of the players. Very excited about that. Thanks to Marion for taking the time. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute to wrap up hour number 2 with the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
QC Kinetics.
Yep.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
So as a young man, I spent many years playing just about every sport, soccer being one of them. I was a goalkeeper because, well, goalkeepers don't have to run, but I did it. It was a lot of diving, a lot of landing, a lot of joint manipulation. I also played basketball. I played football. I played tennis. I played golf. I ran track, not cross country. I was too lazy for cross country, but I did track. I was don't even judge me. I was a cheerleader for a competition once, and a good one. All right. What I'm saying, don't look at me like that, Lonzo. What I'm saying ultimately is that I have put my body through a lot. And unfortunately, I am paying the price because of that now later on in my life. I've just got joint pain because I have worn the joints down. I have worn out the biological material inside of those joints that keeps that pain and inflammation from happening. And that is why we have partnered up with our friends at QC Kinetics, because their non-surgical regenerative therapies will help me feel better, faster, longer by restoring the tissue that prevents that pain and inflammation, by helping your body maximize its healing abilities so that you can get back to that day-to-day life. I cannot tell you how many times I have been told over the past handful of years, Rob, you have the knees of a 55-year-old man in your early 30s. You are going to have surgery to replace them. Well, that's why we're partnering with QC Kinetics, because I know that I love to be able to play golf without my knees feeling on fire after 18. I love to be able to work out at the gym and not feel like my lower back's going to explode the next day. I love to be able to go play tackle football with my nephew in the front yard, get thrown to the ground and realize, hey, it's not going to hurt as much when I stand up now because of our friends at QC Kinetics. Go to their website right now, QCKINETIX.com, QCkinetics.com, to learn more about the science behind their regenerative therapies that are non-surgical, or give them a buzz today at 864-448-3772, 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show. Get that free consultation in place and learn how you can feel better, faster with our friends at QC Kinetics.
I'm not judging, man.
You judge.
I'm just, I was not judging. I was not. Yes, I wanted you to see me.
I saw the eyes.
That was on purpose.
Don't you pretend like you were hamming it up. You judged me.
I wanted to see if I could derail the spot.
Nah.
No, I would never do that. That would be detrimental to. No, I was messing with you. But see, you say cheerleader, I immediately think cheer squad. So that's just me, and I'm just imagining you there with Dolph Ziggler.
The Spirit Squad.
Yes.
Let's see. Spirit Squad was Dolph. It was who was it? Who? There was somebody else that's still around that was in the Spirit Squad too. To look up who it was.
Kenny and Mikey.
Yeah.
And Mitch and Nikki. I'll try to look and see if I recognize anybody other than Ziggler. So I think one of them came back for a while, and they were going up against Ziggler for, it was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I think.
I'm going to Google it. I'm going to cheat. Who was in the Spirit Squad in WWE?
I absolutely hated the Spirit Squad, by the way.
Everybody hated it. They were heels.
I know, it was the point. Yeah, well, you have an affinity for heels, so maybe you liked them as a heel faction.
The Panthers are sending offensive coordinator Joe Brady and quarterback coach Sean Ryan to Justin Fields' second pro day being held today. Matt Rule has not ruled out taking a quarterback at the 8th spot.
So why do a second pro day? I mean, what's really the benefit?
My belief is that after Orlovsky criticized him for, not working hard enough and not putting in the effort that other quarterbacks have had, blah, blah, blah. I think his goal is just to go out there and show that he's in the best shape of his life, and that was only accomplished through continuing to be a hard worker. I think he's just trying to own a narrative that he had no responsibility for being spun in the first place.
I find it hard to believe that Orlovsky's opinion would mean that much. I mean, I know that's what he gets paid for, but that one opinion, I mean, unless there are multiple opinions of the same, does his voice hold that much water? I just don't know.
It doesn't in the NFL world, but when it gets to the point, that it's being spun that much, you gotta wonder if people don't start putting some stock into it, which is dumb.
Well, who cares about people? It really comes down to, the guys making the decision. If it affects them, then I have concerns. If I'm the guy doing the drafting and Orlovsky said this, oh man, we got to check it out. There's no way he's wrong. I don't think there's a definitive voice out there, including Mel Kiper, including any of those guys who do this for a living as far as evaluating talent, supposedly. I don't think there's one that I would listen to. If there are a group of voices saying the same thing and they're not echoing, then maybe there's something there. But one guy, I don't know.
I will get you. I've never had White Castle before, Lonzo.
You just haven't been that far north?
Nope. I mean, I have. I've just never stopped at a White Castle. I've seen them. I've just never stopped.
The Rob Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show. The Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
Thank you so very much to Miss Marion Cole, the Media Relations Director for the Greenville Triumph, for joining us in that last segment. Again, moving forward, every Wednesday at 1:20, we'll be featuring a different member of the Triumph organization who will join us here on the Rob Brown Show. Keep you up to date on what's happening with the Triumph. And pretty exciting. Speaking of soccer, though, and I appreciate you sending me this. Thank you very much. The University of South Carolina has announced a partnership with Major League Soccer that will make them an official education partner of the league. That announcement was made earlier today. It marks the start of a multi-year partnership that will give access to online education to MLS players and former players. According to Suj Nam from NAM TV, she said this, one of the quotes that came out from officials about this partnership is, quote, "This learning alliance is one step closer for our university to eliminate barriers. We want to open the door to earning a degree." The university released a statement that said, "At the University of South Carolina, we are committed to increasing access to higher education for all students, including students whose lives have interrupted or otherwise prevented them from fulfilling their educational goals in a traditional resident model." That, according to South Carolina President Bob Caslin. In fulfillment of this mission, we are proud to partner with Major League Soccer to provide higher education to these exceptional athletes and prospective students across the country through Carolina Online. So basically, Zoe, what it looks like, and I don't know, this is a sports story to me, Lonzo. Tell me if I'm wrong here. But what it looks like is that South Carolina has basically created a system where MLS players who, look, with professional athletics, you've only got X amount of years in your youth to be able to play the game at top notch. They have created a situation that players in the MLS will be able to pursue a degree through the University of South Carolina as they are playing within the MLS organization. And I think it's great for a number of reasons. Number one, South Carolina in 3 to 5 years, Lonzo, South Carolina is going to have more Gamecock alum playing in the MLS than any other college, which is cool. Number two, it is an awesome relationship within the soccer community that, like it or not, continues to grow in the United States and in the Carolinas. It's going to provide a direct connection between the Carolinas and the MLS, which will help out Charlotte FC when they start up their season, their debut year next year. Zoe, I love this move from the Gamecocks. What a great idea.
This is all well and good, but this isn't what people thought it was going to be. Everyone was thinking they were going to announce a team. So, I mean, you you're puffing this thing up like it's a big deal, but this is not what you thought it was going to be. And when I read it, I'm not a big soccer fan. When I read it, I was disappointed because all the hype around the press conference made it sound like it was going to be something major, and it is from a certain point of view, but it's not what we wanted to hear.
I don't know. I mean, yes, correct. Yes, I would have loved to hear that South Carolina was getting their first professional franchise. I would have loved to hear there was an MLS team. Granted, it would have been over in Charleston if it was going to happen, and they would have been based off of the Battery, which is beautiful. I talked to somebody last night who was like, Rob, does this mean we're getting an MLS team? No. Where are they going to play? You need a 20, 25, 30,000 seat stadium in order to host an MLS team. Where would they play? There's nowhere. There's nowhere there for them to play in South Carolina. Maybe somebody could have built them a 25,000 seat stadium over in the Charleston area. They weren't going to put one anywhere near us. We're too close to Charlotte. Charlotte's got an MLS team coming next year. They're not going to put them next door. I honestly thought that this was going to be the announcement of some sort of rivalry trophy between Charlotte and Atlanta, right? Like an I-85 trophy or something. But when they announced that, so when South Carolina announced that they were postponing, there was supposed to be a press conference today for Frank Martin about the contract extension. When they announced that they were postponing that, I knew it had something to do with that partnership between South Carolina and the MLS. I thought it was going to be some sort of training pipeline. Instead, the USC, U of SC, will provide educational opportunities to players that are in the league who did not get the chance to go to or finish their college education. I think it's phenomenal. It drastically increases the South Carolina footprint within the MLS and therefore within American soccer. They're going to have a ton of alum within the first handful of years because many players will likely take advantage of this within the MLS, which expands the Carolina footprint. I got to tell you, this could drive South Carolina to be a leader in soccer over the next few years. And I freaking love it. Here's your chance to win $1,000 in the $1,000 cash dash on ESPN Upstate. Your keyword for this upcoming 2:00 hour is destiny. Destiny, D-E-S-T-I-N-Y, Destiny. The keyword is 71, or excuse me, text keyword is 72881, 72881. It is Destiny, powered by BetQL. Let BetQL's proven data and analytics help you become a better. Download the BetQL app today. Again, text Destiny to 72881 for your chance to win $1,000 in the $1,000 cash dash. When we come back in the next hour of the show, Aaron Rodgers, he is quickly solidifying, as far as I'm concerned, his claim on the Jeopardy throne. I'll play you a clip that was hilarious from yesterday. Plus, Masters ratings were up from the fall event, but down overall, and it is my industry's fault. Tell you about that next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate, WYRD Greenville.
You have a Harley in the first break.
Perfect.
So even after you heard the Beastie Boys talk about White Castle fries, you were never tempted when you had the opportunity to go, what were the Beastie Boys talking about? Although White Castle fries now do come in more than one size. I just was, would have thought that maybe that would have made you go, hey, I need to try some of this.
I think if I would have been around it more, right? Because here's the thing, with White Castle being geographically isolated, if I am in a White Castle, when I travel, I eat at local places, right? I don't eat at chain place. Like if I go to Ohio, I'm not eating McDonald's. Like I'm going to go find locals and I'm going to ask them where are the best restaurants around here? Where do I need to go eat to get the experience? And White Castle has never overridden like local restaurants that I've been interested in. So I just haven't done it.
One thing
I haven't had In-N-Out either for the record.
Yeah, neither have I, but I haven't been anywhere near where they have that. But White Castle is one of those restaurants, whether you like them or hate them, they're open 24 hours. At least they used to be, and they probably still are. And nothing like some midnight bowling on a Saturday night and then hitting the White Castle afterwards. It's awesome. I would say it's a step up.
bang, he's out because he didn't do the first bang, which is to touch the frickin' dish. He didn't do it. Hey, love it. It's not bang bang because there's only one bang.
I think you should do a contest. I mean, can you guess how many bangs are in that promo? If I recall, I had to cut some bangs out for time restraints.
So you can only bang so many times in an hour. But that was a Diesel joke.
Yeah, that's why I'm not touching it. Hey, ESPN Upstate.
Warning.
Man, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown!
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate Hour number 3, the Money Hour. Coming down the pipe for you right this very second. I am Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo, back in the network studios in charge of the show. Thanks for joining us today. Been talking a lot about the attack on Major League Baseball's antitrust exemption, attack that has my support fully. It is an interesting time. It is being spurred as a direct response to Major League Baseball moving their All-Star game out of Atlanta, Georgia, in response to the voting legislation that came down the pipe a couple of weeks ago. Senators Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, and Mike Lee from Texas, Missouri, and Utah, respectively. I think I got those 3 right. Have all sponsored this legislation. I believe Cruz, I'm doing this off the top of my head, I believe Cruz, maybe Hawley, said that so far they believe they have 18 supporters of this legislation. I suspect that they will be introducing the same or similar legislation in the House of Representatives at some point in the near future. And this exemption would go a long way in changing how baseball operates. And I am interested in that. If it does, you will see some changes in the way that baseball players at the minor league level are paid. Right now, baseball does salary restrict minor league players. It has created many problems in many situations. I'll tell you, when I was down in Pensacola, I had relationships with many. I knew many of the players on the Blue Wahoos team, and they will tell you that it is tough. It is tough to make enough money as a minor league player. And here's the thing. Most of the guys at the minor league level are working toward the show. Most of the guys at the minor league level are working towards the big leagues. And in order to make the big leagues, your life's got to be baseball, right? Your life has got to be baseball. And they will tell you that they don't have enough money to be able to put all of their effort into baseball. You have to wonder how many good baseball players have not been able to put their entire focus into becoming the best baseball players they could be, and teams have cost themselves the ability to develop generational young talent in the minor league system, and do so because they restrict how much minor league teams can or are willing to pay players. Now, there is the argument that is to spread the talent around minor league baseball, to provide teams that are in smaller markets that maybe don't have the support that, for instance, the Drive have, to be able to have competitive salaries. But nobody has talked about a salary cap, but just widespread conspiring to keep salaries limited, which is kind of interesting. The other thing that may have a big impact on is the Major League Baseball's overall control about how they broadcast games. We had a texter earlier in the day who said, ESPN, my grandfather watched the Braves every day for over 40 years, and now he refuses to watch because every year he has to switch providers just to watch the games. For a sport losing fans, limiting games watchable seems pretty idiotic. And that is a good take, Zoe. It's kind of interesting that a lot of these exemptions to the antitrust laws that MLB has in place, they take advantage of in a way that make fans very unhappy. Now, we're kind of tiptoeing a razor-thin line here, Zoe, because I look at it
and I say, hey, I'm not a big fan of legislation that restricts the freedom that private businesses have to operate the way that they wish to operate. But on the other hand, I'm also kind of tired of baseball creating all of these limitations, all of these restrictions that make the game more inaccessible for young people and for fans, although maybe that's their own stupidity. And maybe that's just something that they will have to deal with their own. I don't know, Zoe. I'm the more I talk about it, the more I'm a little conflicted about it, because while I don't think baseball should get special exemptions to antitrust laws like the rest of sports do not, on the flip side, I kind of think that they ought to be allowed to exist how they exist, and if they kill themselves, they kill themselves.
See, now you've got me thinking about the opposite direction. And the main thing that stood out to me out of what you just said was the older gentleman having to switch providers every time because he can't find the games. It's to watch the team that he loves and has loved his entire life. There should be some way to stop that. And if this stops that, just for that reason, so that older guy can watch his Braves, then I'm for it.
So here's I think where the legislation comes in. Baseball does get a lot of exemptions in terms of taxes, tax breaks. We have seen the fights that take place over some of that when teams look at moving, when teams look at building new stadiums, etc. And I think the argument about the legislation is, here's the deal. If you are going to take all these tax exemptions, if you are going to get all of these tax deals, if you are going to get all these special deals from government when you are building new stadiums and moving teams, et cetera, then you have to stop doing things that make the game inaccessible to fans and to younger players, right? And I think that, Zoe, is the big reason that I lean towards getting rid of the exemptions. If baseball is going to get all this special treatment and all this money handed back to him in order to continue to operate, then anything they can do that restricts the game from those of us who put tax money into the system that ends up going to baseball, that's where you lose me, right? That's where you lose me. If you are getting, and this is for any organization anywhere, if you are getting specialized tax breaks that are given to you and only you as an organization because of who you are, then I think that you ought to have to play in a way that is in the public interest. That's just me, Lonzo. And that's to me, that's any organization at all, whether it is athletics or anything else. If you get specialized tax breaks that are created just for you, then you should be obligated legally to operate within the public interest, because you are being treated as a public entity at that point, even if you are a private business or organization, Lonzo. And I think that is the reason that I am in favor of these legislators going after the exemption.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. But again, and man, sometimes I feel like I'm like the arbiter of negativity here. But when it comes to politics, I just think this is just a whole lot of talk, and I don't think anything's going to happen. Man, I like being wrong in these cases, and hopefully I am wrong. Hopefully something like this will happen, but I just think the story will fade, unfortunately.
All right. I agree with that. I mean, this has been brought up many times, but it's like I said, we had Jason on the show earlier talking about it, and it's like I said to Jason earlier. At the end of the day, baseball has this big chunk of rock, and we all know what we want the sculpture that comes out of this chunk of rock to look like. And the reality here is, to create the sculpture, you don't bang the rock with a sledgehammer over and over. You take a chisel to it, and you do a little bit at a time, just a little chip here, a little chip there, and you over time form it into this sculpture that we see baseball being ultimately in the public interest. Getting rid of the exemption as a whole, while I am for it, I think is the equivalent of taking a sledgehammer to that chunk of granite, whereas I think what's actually going to happen is it's going to have to be chiseled away, and it has been chiseled away at. We saw a big chunk of it go away in the 60s, another chunk go away in the 90s. That chisel has been wielded by both Democrats and Republicans in the legislative bodies, the federal legislative bodies, over the years. But so that's the best analogy I can come up with. We are just chiseling little pieces and bits of it away here and there, working towards what our finalized project will look like. You can't just take the sledgehammer, hit it once, and expect it to come out right.
I am reveling in the fact that analogy is one of the best that I've ever heard you say. And you're absolutely right. But is the chisel and the tool in the right hand of the artist, or is it in a hand of someone that will hit it too hard and make the entire thing break?
First off, though, that's the best analogy you've heard from me since yesterday. All right? Since yesterday. Second off, look, that's not to say that if you put the chisel in the hand of the wrong person, they won't screw up the sculpture, right? We know that that's a realistic possibility here. But again, I also think that's why it is important to operate slowly. If there is an operator that has that chisel and you see that he is going about it the wrong way, then you take the chisel away from him and you move on to the next artist who's going to do work on said sculpture. And now I am getting way too deep into my analogy.
Well, the question is, how long has this sculpture been being crafted? How long is
about 50 years now.
Yeah. So when's this thing going to be done?
About 50 years now. And now again, the other aspect of this, baseball actually has the largest lobbying organization in Washington, D.C. of any professional sports interest. In fact, they have an entire lobbying office right there in D.C., and they are estimated to lobby with around $2 million every single year, going directly to legislators in the House and in the Senate. So they're putting $2 million a year into the pockets of officials, of legislators, of lawmakers, and then telling them what they want to happen. That's part of the reason this is such a slow process. It is that money in politics world that we have talked about. It. Sports is not immune from that, unfortunately, in many cases. But the question is, if we as sports fans get louder and more involved in trying to make this anti-exemption legislation get through, whether you like the politicians who are sponsors of the legislation or not, that will go a long way into determining if said metaphorical sculpture ever gets completed. And that's why there was a underlying motive, though, about why I decided to spend time on this today. I was genuinely curious as to whether or not we would get listener reaction. I really was. Because if we got a bunch of listener reaction, then maybe baseball finally faces some opposition. Because here's the thing. If a lobbyist goes to a legislator and says, hey, I want to hand you $500,000 as long as I know that when you get elected, you will support my interest. And that legislator sticks his finger in the air and finds out that it is over an issue that his constituents don't really care about, then he's far more likely to take that money and protect said interest, right? If I know that Lonzo doesn't give a gosh darn about something I'm going to do on the air that I think might be controversial, and I think Lonzo doesn't care about, I'm far more likely to do it because I know I'm not going to get pushback. But if I want to do something controversial on the air and I find out that Lonzo has a huge problem with it, I'm far less likely to do that thing because I might not want to have the pushback from my constituent back there in the palatial ESPN Upstate studios. And so I think that is what we have going on here. Legislators have not felt a big pushback from MLB fans. Therefore, they've had no reason to go after this. I wanted to see if Major League Baseball fans listening to the show would have some pushback here on the show, because if they did, maybe something happens. But Zoe, I've gotten 2 texts and 1 phone call on this over the course of the show. I don't think anybody really cares enough that these legislators will make anything happen, unfortunately.
Well, you know where I stand on that, because I don't believe that anything's going to get done. So
# social experiment. Quick break. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Alonzo, it's ESPN Upstate.
Harley.
Yep.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your phone everywhere on the radio.com app. Download the app and make ESPN Upstate a favorite for 24/7 real, unfiltered sports talk.
Your opportunity to own a piece of Americana is right now. Coming up this weekend, April 16th, 17th, and 18th. If you think that getting onto the back of a Harley Davidson from Harley Davidson of Greenville might be for you, well, this is a phenomenal weekend because on the 16th, 17th, and 18th, Friday through Sunday, the Harley demo truck will be right here in the Ville. They are bringing 2021 motorcycles straight from the factory that you can jump on the back of and you can test out. If you have been thinking, hey, Rob's right, motorcycles are awesome and Harley Davidson is the cream of the crop, but you just haven't decided if Harley is right for you, this is your opportunity. Don't miss the action. Free test rides all weekend, including your chance to find your freedom on the Harley Davidson motorcycle of your choice. And if you are not a rider yet, but you are interested, no worries. They got you covered as well. You can still try out a real Harley Davidson motorcycle on the Jumpstart stationary demo experience. You can run through all the gears with no riding experience required. It's kind of cool. I've seen it in the past. They put the motorcycle up on top of a simulator. The motorcycle is held upright. The back wheel is attached to some rollers, so you can actually ride a Harley without moving, get a feel for the motorcycle, and find out if it is for you. That's going to be this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 30 Chrome Drive. It is Harley Davidson of Greenville. Go see the demo truck. Remember, Saturday night, Blackstone Cherry playing a free concert at Harley Davidson of Greenville at 30 Chrome Drive. No tickets necessary. Just show up. Food and drink will be on sale. It is going to be an awesome night. Make sure you are there. Check it out, 30 Chrome Drive, or see the entire inventory and get more details online at upstateharley.com. Upstateharley.com. It's Harley Davidson of Greenville.
AutomotiveMap.com.
You ever listen to a song over and over again and never, ever can memorize the lyrics?
Ooh, yes. What song are you talking
There is a song called Year of the Cat, and you may never have heard of this before. Sometimes when my children and I are playing a game online, we just burst in the song, the first thing that pops in our head, and the Year of the Cat popped in my head, and so I added it to my Spotify, and I just looked up the lyrics, and it's basically a story, but it doesn't have... The only thing repetitive is saying in the year of the cat every once in a while. It's just an entire story. The lyrics are, I don't know. I guess it would be akin to a folk song in the 80s, but not really a folk song. But there's a word on here, but I wanted to see if you knew what it was before I looked it up. And it's patchouli. I don't know. Patchouli.
Patchouli. Hippies love it. You want to hear about my one? I have this thing, Zoe, and I don't know if it's like a diagnosable medical thing or not. But I have this thing where when I listen to music, I have a very difficult time making out words that singers are singing if it's at the same volume as the music, as the instruments behind it. To the point that, like, if I hear a new song and I really like the sound of it and I can only make out like 15, 20% of the words, I have to go look up the lyrics. Now, once I read the lyrics, then I hear them perfectly clear the next time I hear the song. But if I go to concerts and I don't know the music of the person I'm going to see in concert, I have a tough time making out the words that they are singing sometimes. To the point that I will follow along with the lyrics on my phone while I'm watching a band play them live so I can understand what they're singing. I don't know if I'm the only one with that issue, though.
Well, see, with me though, and this is why this song is frustrating to me. There are a lot of times I have a song memorized almost after listening to it once, maybe twice. And, if it's a simple pop song, you can almost figure out where they're going.
Yeah.
And so a song like this bothers me because I can't memorize it. And looking at the lyrics, I still won't be able to memorize it because of how it's written and because it's using some words like the word I just said that I've never heard of before. I mean, it's got Peter Lorre in it, and you may not know who Peter Lorre is, and he's an actor. And it's talking about it. It first starts out talking about a Bogart movie with Peter Lorre in it, and I had no idea it said that right at the beginning of the song. But the music is catchy for me, and it's got I think it's a saxophone in it in certain areas. It's very intricate, but I learned at recording school how to just listen to one instrument. So I'm wondering, do you hear the guitar parts when you're listening? Since you play guitar, is that the first thing that stands out to you? Is it the guitar parts?
No, I think the first time I listen to a song, I'm listening to everything. Now, I will go back and listen to a song specifically for the guitar. I do the same thing with bass. I vastly appreciate a bassist who can put a complicated riff together that harmonizes well. I think it's an underappreciated fact. Dave Hope, who used to play bass for Kansas, is one of my favorite bassists of all time. Flea from the Chili Peppers, exact same. Because they walk through these crazy bass lines, but they never don't match up.
I also really like the bassist from Yes, and I don't know his name, but I mean the stuff that he was able to do in some of those songs where the bass carried the song, and it wasn't just a simple thing. It was almost you think he's playing with a bow or something.
Yep. When a bass. So anyway, the first time I listen to a song, I'm listening to the whole song. I'm listening to the lyrics. I'm listening to the guitar, the bass, the drums, everything.
30 seconds.
Then I'll go back and I'll break if I really like it, I'll go back and break a song apart instrument by instrument. But yeah, for whatever reason, whenever I hear a song, I sometimes have a very difficult time making out what the singer is saying and have to go read the lyrics so that I can figure it out. Then once I read the lyrics, I hear them perfectly, and it's weird. I don't know why that is.
He's not messing around. Real, unfiltered sports talk on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. I'm gonna go off sports here for just a second and not hashtag stick to sports. Zoe and I were talking during the break about music, and I have to ask you guys as a listening audience. You guys know I'm a musician. I use that word in the very lightest sense possible. But I play guitar. I sing a little bit, play some drums, etc. I'm in a band, blah, 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 blah. So Zoe and I are both audiophiles. We both love music, and we listen to music all the time. Zoe and I both, when we're working on audio, we have music playing in the background. I'm listening to music during breaks, et cetera, et cetera. But I have this phenomenon that goes on with me, Zoe, and I don't know what it is, and I'm wondering if I'm the only person who has this experience. When I hear a song, I have a very difficult time sometimes. If the volume of the vocals is at the same level as the instruments, right? Unless the volume of the vocals is pulled up over the instruments. If it's at the same volume, I have a very, very difficult time making out what the singer is actually singing, the actual lyrics. If for whatever reason, it just kind of becomes almost like one sound. Especially with
you mean like what I was going to say, like Bob Dylan. Then.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. All right.
Now, once I go read the lyrics, once I know what the singer is saying, then I hear it clear as day. Once I know the words he's saying, once I read the lyrics, it's clear as a bell for me. But the first time I hear a song, if I don't know the lyrics already, I just kind of hear, and I can't pick out what they're saying, to the point that, and Brandon on the stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, it says, is that at live performances only? No, it's on the radio too. If I'm listening to the radio, and a song comes on that I don't know the words to, I have a very difficult time making out the words. Once I know the words, once I know the lyrics, then I hear them clear as a bell. I have been to live performances before where I actually have to pull up the song that the band is performing and read the lyrics so that I can understand what the lead singer is saying. Does anybody else have the same thing?
I do have to ask you, though, and I'm not being critical here, even though it will sound like I'm being critical. When you pull up the lyrics at a concert, does anyone see you do it?
Yes, and I'm sure that they think I'm a total Delta Bravo, right? I'm sure that they do.
No, see, I put that alongside of a dad joke or things that dads do to embarrass their children. But if it's an actual problem, you are the only one I know. Other than I did have a stepfather at one point who could never figure out the lyrics, and he would like say one word and then go like, let's dance, to the point where we actually made a parody commercial even before I got into radio, and it was just making fun of him making that K-Tel greatest hits, just him saying one word and it's just mumbling everything else.
Honestly, it's what it sounds like to me. There are still classic rock songs that I have heard a million times in my lifetime that there are lines in the song where I have no idea what the lyrics are, because to me it just sounds like one kind of drawn out monotone sound, and I don't know what the singer is singing, and I can't fix it until I go read the words. Once I read the words, I'm like, yeah, of course that's what he's saying. How did I not hear it before that? But before I read the words, I have no idea what the singer is saying. It happens to me with live music. It happens to me with recorded music. I don't know why it happens. I don't know where it comes from. And I'm wondering if I'm the only person that has that issue, that they can't make out what the lead singer is saying until they actually know what the lyrics are, and then they hear them perfectly, because it happens to me all the damn time.
You know what? You would hate spending some time down the hall in the office of two program directors, because these guys will throw out lyrics back and forth, and sometimes I can hang with them. So you just be in there going, okay, what the heck are they talking about? I mean, from way back, they can just spout out these lyrics, and it's so cool because I always believe, man, I know all this music, and you go down there around masters who know everything, and then they'll throw out an obscure thing and then look at you trying to see if you know it. You would not want to be in that right there.
Here's the thing, like, once I know the lyrics, I got it, man. Like, I'm a dictionary of I guess a thesaurus. I don't know. I
just want to take a chance to compliment the boss, just in case I'm in trouble for something. That's all.
Of course, obviously we suck up as much as possible.
There's a good shot I'm in trouble for something. I mean,
Once I know the lyrics, I know the lyrics, right? Like, once I know the lyrics, there's a meme that goes around on the internet every now and then. It's like, if you have to sing one song perfectly, if you get it right, you win $1 million, and if you get it wrong, you go to prison. Which song are you picking? I got hundreds. I got hundreds of songs that I know every word by heart, down to the inflection of the singers in the vocals themselves. But the first time I hear a song, if I don't already know the lyrics, I have to go look them up, because otherwise it just sounds like the singer is monotone. So shoot us a text, 71307, the Ingalls Market text line, 71307. And let me know, am I the only one that has this issue where it's very difficult for you to make out lyrics, which I got to tell you, Zoe, is kind of a big problem to have for a musician. It's kind of one of the worst problems to have as a musician.
For sure, especially if you, in your case, all you got to do is listen to the bass line and know where to go.
Yeah,
maybe
I play guitar and I never picked up a microphone.
Yeah, but you do sing some. And how long did it take you to memorize those songs, especially AC/DC, who, unless you really know how to listen to AC/DC, there are some songs that maybe you couldn't understand what they were saying.
Oh, yeah, I love AC/DC, and there are still songs, like, every now and then you'll come across an obscure B-side, and I'm like, I got to go look up the lyrics of this song. I can't understand what he's saying. Text line 71307 at ESPN. I spent 5 minutes reading the lyrics to What a Fool Believes by the Doobie Brothers the other day. Still doesn't sound like what he says. Yeah, look, and it's especially tough for me, Zoe.
Well, Michael McDonald has a way of enunciating that. Yeah, I mean, he could say anything and it'll sound cool, probably.
It's especially a problem when you get the singers who love to put their own little inflections on regular words. Like, here I'll make an admittance. I loved Creed. When Creed was big, I loved Creed. But you got a Scott step. Who those are the random sounds into those words. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what those words are, because half of them are.
It's my understanding that Creed is still big around here. So you're all right. You're all right.
Fine with it.
I think Alter Bridge is a superior band to Creed.
I agree with you.
But still
loved Creed. Still love Creed.
Me too.
Alter Bridge probably 15 times. I love Alter Bridge.
I'm so jealous.
I love Creed. So Brian Marshall, who's the bassist, another bassist I love. Brian Marshall was the bassist for Creed. Now Alter Bridge, he went to my high school. I know him. His dad was my orthopedic surgeon when I lived back in Florida, and he's a super good dude. In fact, somewhere, Zoe, if I can find it, I'll give it to you. I actually have an Alter Bridge signed poster that he gave me one time. If I can find it, you can have it. Brian Marshall went to my high school. Alter Bridge is phenomenal, but when I hear singers like Scott say, even Axl Rose, I love Guns N' Roses, but Axl does that crap sometimes too, and I can't make out what they are saying, especially when there are inflections to the voice. At ESPN, I have a musical problem where someone will say a completely innocuous word or sentence in conversation, and then my brain just starts playing a song with that word, sentence's lyrics. Yes, same.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Absolutely. This is what sparked this conversation is I was telling Rob when my children and I play online, just a word will shoot up and any of us will just start singing the song.
Yep.
And for the most part, I know them until they start singing stuff that's more modern. I'm like, yeah, what are you singing? I don't know. Who's saying that? Justin Bieber? I don't know.
When that texter sent a text a second ago about hearing what a fool believes, my brain, I am talking on a talk show, and my brain immediately just goes, what a fool believes. And I can't stop now.
She came from somewhere back in as long ago. I'm going to have to add that to my Spotify because I can't believe I don't have that song in there.
So off the air, if you join the stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, Zoe, how many times does a commercial with not even the words, just the music to a popular song show up in one of our promos or commercials? And after that breaks over, I'm just singing the song. I'm just singing the song because I can't make it stop. I got the same problem. So
which is a smart move by advertisers because you take a familiar song, you put it in there, and then when you hear that song, you think of their product.
Yep.
But nowadays there are songs that will show up on a commercial, like The Weeknd will show up on a commercial, and you hear it a couple of times. You're like, man, that song sounds pretty cool. I think I'll check that song out. So it works both ways.
All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN is the number. Text us 71307 on the Ingles Supermarket text line, 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read it on the air. Do you have either of those problems? Either A, you have a very difficult time making out what a singer is singing if the vocals volume is the same as the instrument volume, or number two, when you have a phrase or sentence said to you that contains lyrics to a song, does your brain immediately mandate that you start singing that song in your head? I am curious. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, a high school system in Arkansas has come up with a very, very interesting way to start designating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6A designations at the high school level. And it's not just about school size. And I like it a lot. I'll propose it to you. See if you'd be on board next on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
You could have your own.
Texter just said, I've got the little guitar part from Can You Take Me Higher by Creed in my head on repeat. And now, Texter, it's in my head as well.
Yeah, me too. Thanks.
Can you take me higher? So let's go there. Let's make our escape. I gotta tell you, Zoe, Creed, man. Creed. Let's ask, can we stay?
Yeah, I think the only album of theirs I didn't get was the first one, but I had a couple of them because my drummer at the time was really into Creed and I had never heard of them before. And so he got me to listen to it. I was like, okay, I like this. And so I bought a couple, and like Weathered is my favorite Creed song.
I was all all about Human Clay. For years, I was all about Human Clay. First one was My Own Prison, which would have been late 90s, though? 98? Somewhere in there?
And I liked them enough that when Alter Bridge first came out, I was like, okay, let me check these guys out. I was like, man, I really, really like them. And they got better and better and better from album to album. They're one of those bands that I actually have full albums on my Spotify. They may pop up like every other song if I'm playing random. Of course, so does Duran Duran. Judge me. I don't care.
I love Duran Duran. Her name is Rio.
I had to hide my Duran Duran fandom in high school, though. It was frowned upon in the inner city of Columbus, Ohio.
Just like that river. Dude, when was the last time I even heard that song?
But how could you not watch those videos? You weren't around probably when those videos came out. And not
kid when Duran Duran was big. I made some of it before I was even born.
That's what I'm saying. When those videos came out, when MTV first came out, and we were one of the only people at the time who had cable, and my friends would come over and we would just watch MTV all day. And they were on like every fourth or fifth video was them. So 1 minute. The things you learn on the stream. I never would have known that Rob was an Alter Bridge fan or a Creed fan.
I loved Creed back in the day. Well, you didn't listen to the Rob Brown show on ESPN Upstate when Diesel was in charge. We used to talk about Creed a lot.
I was doing production during that time.
Yeah, whatever. So you just weren't a fan. I get it.
When I'm at work, I work. I do. Some people will go to room and just talk. I just work. Let's face it, the other two required a lot of preparation.
Call 844-GSP-ESPN. Text keyword ESPN and your message to 71307. Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show. Only on ESPN Upstate.
Just found this on Twitter, and I really kind of like it. So they're in Arkansas. I'll be interested to see. Now, I unfortunately, I haven't had a ton of exposure yet to the high school football community here in the Upstate, mainly because after I moved here, obviously last year with COVID and all that, big high school football fan. Love Friday Night Football, man. You can't do better than Friday Night Football. So I'm looking forward to this fall. Hopefully, we'll go back closer to normal and be able to get some high school football in my life. But where I came from, we had kind of an issue down in Florida with high school ball. So the class distinctions, 1A, 2A, 3A, all the way up to 6A in Florida. I don't know if it's the same here, and some of you guys can educate me. It was based on how many people were in the school, right? How many people were in the school. But what would end up happening is that some of the smaller 1A and 2A schools would become recruiting centers, right? The best players from some of the 5 and 6A teams where guys maybe were really good players but wouldn't crack the starting lineup, et cetera, they would start getting recruited to go play for the smaller 1 and 2A schools where they would be superstars. And what ended up happening is every year around playoff time, you would start to see the same couple of schools pop up in the state playoffs every year. There was never a chance for the parity to kick in, because once a team got into that upper echelon, they would start recruiting and they would end up staying at that level. We're over in Arkansas. There is a proposal on the table right now where they want to put into play a points system for high school teams. And here is how that point system works out. And I'm interested to see if you guys would be on board with this. I really, really like it. The formula will award points to a team based on results in a given season. If a team ends with a winning conference record, it would earn a point. A state playoff win is worth 2, a state finals appearance worth 3 points, and a state championship appearance or a state championship win is worth 4 points, which means that a high school team can earn a maximum of 4 points per season and a total of 10 points in the 4-season time period. And if you earn 10 points, you would be considered a dominant school at your level and would be moved into a higher classification. So, for example, they talk about Pulaski Academy, a high school in Arkansas. They have won 3 state titles and finished runner-up in a state title game over the past 4 years. They are a Class 5-8 school. They, in the last 4 years, have won 3 state championships and were runner-up in the other year, which means there was a high school senior there who was a 3-time state champ and a 1-time state runner-up. Under this system, they would earn the 10 points over 4 years, and they would be elevated from Class 5A to Class 6A. Another Class 5A team, Little Rock Christian, would be bumped up to Class 6A, given the current proposal, because they have had similar success, a few state championship appearances, et cetera, et cetera. Likewise, any private school team that finished with a losing record over a 4-season time span would be moved down a classification. So basically what this means is that teams that display equal levels of dominance over a 4-year cycle would ultimately, they would be shifted up and down to where the parity of competition opens up across every distinction from 1A all the way up to 6A. Zoe is somebody who came from a background where we had a school in Niceville High School, which became a recruiting center over years. It got to the point where Niceville was basically leeching the best players off of Choctaw and Fort Walton Beach and Crestview High and Pine Forest High and all these other schools in the area. They were leeching the best players, and they in class, I want to say the last time that I paid attention, they were 4A. I want to say they were 4A because they were a smaller school, but they leached all the best talent and basically had kids coming there from around the area. You can still do that. You can still have kids go, I'm going to move districts to go play for Niceville instead of Choctaw. But if it becomes so prevalent that you end up becoming dominant for 4 years, then they would be bumped from 4A to 5A to play better competition. And if they maintain that sense of prevalence at 5A, after another 4 years, they'd be bumped up to 6A. If, let's say, Choctaw couldn't keep up with Niceville and was getting bumped every year and couldn't establish in-division rivalries and all that, and they did not get those points, they could be shifted down from 4A to 3A, where there would be a little more parity within the competition. Zoe, I really like this structure, man. I think it kind of levels out the playing field in high school athletics so you don't have the same 6 teams winning championships year after year after year after year. I really like that.
Yeah, I don't think we really have this problem around here, but I like the idea. And I mean, there were rumors about certain schools recruiting and things like that. But what the only flaw I see in it is, what if you have a district with a school that just everyone wants to live there, and it has nothing to do with the football, just everyone wants to live there. They're being penalized because, you know, people are moving into a beautiful area and they just happen to be good at football.
Then they go up. That's the thing. It does not reflect anything, and this is what I like the most about it. It has no correlation to the size of the school or any other factors. It doesn't correlate to how nice the neighborhood is. It doesn't correlate to how nice the school is, to funding, to crowd size, whatever. It doesn't impact. It's not impacted by any of that. Your on-the-field results and nothing but on-the-field results dictate where you end up playing division-wise. So if they build a new high school up in, I'm going to pick a city, Greer, and they build it in a beautiful neighborhood, and the property taxes are high, so they've got really good funding for this school, and this school has all the nice resources, and you have a bunch of parents whose kids aren't football players, and they move to that neighborhood. Now the football team, which let's say the football team's not very good, the football team isn't punished and made to go up and play 5A and 6A ball because of the fact that they have a lot of students but not a good football team. The football team's on-the-field results would dictate that they're still a 3A or 4A school. I think it's a great idea because it only takes into consideration what the football team does on the football field and doesn't punish or reward them for attracting vast numbers of students. I think it's brilliant.
It is, but don't expect the South Carolina High School Association to ever be able to implement something like that. They have problems.
I'm sensing animosity.
Just a little bit.
All right, fair enough. We'll talk more about that. I'm curious. Do you guys agree? Do you think it's a good system? Shoot us a text on the Ingalls Market text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with ESPN. Quick break. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown.
Ever watch House, Alonzo? Oh, he's doing it live. Well, I'll ask him afterwards.
Let's do some business online. Why not? if you get the opportunity tonight, Mr. Ryan needs to record some things.
Okay.
I don't know if you know how to do that.
I do not.
Okay, because I could help you through it. I also sent him an email telling him that I could do it for him tomorrow.
Well,
in the morning.
I am happy to do it, but I have to leave the studio as soon as I am off the air with him today.
Okay.
Because I've got a side gig at 8:00 I have to be at the other side of town for.
Gotcha. He hasn't answered my email yet, so which he needs to do, and he's probably listening right now. Answer my email so we can make sure we make this happen. Client's happy because that's what we do here. We have 1 minute. While in the restroom, 8675309 was playing. Did you have to look up the lyrics for that?
Nope, because I've been playing that one for 15 years.
Have you?
Yep.
Oh, good for you. That sounds like a fun song to sing.
It is. I do the backup vocals on that one. I know you think I'm like the others before.
I'd always wondered why no one did a parody of Forrest Gump singing that song, and I never saw one. Exactly. That would be gold, man. A little late now, but 30 seconds. Welcome to Twitter Trending Topics, where I will tell Rob what is trending on the internet. He will tell everybody and regale us with his wonderful knowledge today for sure. Maybe not like yesterday, but today he's going to. Yeah, he's going to know everything today. The first thing trending is Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney has signed a contract with the Cleveland. How about the Cleveland Browns, Lonzo? How about the Browns? I am intrigued to see what is going to happen with them next year. But Jadeveon Clowney has, he was one of the big pickups for one of the big free agents that was out there available. Looks like 1 year deal worth about $10 million. I got to tell you, Zoe, it's nice to see the Cleveland Browns actually committed to getting better. Now it's up to Jadeveon to prove that he is still worth that contract. But Baker and the Browns, I think they're going to be stiff competition next year.
There'll be people out there who still say he doesn't work hard enough. But if you watch him, whatever team he's on, he's in the backfield all the time. He's creating. He may not get to the quarterback, but he's creating havoc. You got him in there. You got Myles Garrett in there. That defense is going to be scary.
Yeah, and it's one of those spots that it's one of those positions where the success doesn't show up on the stat sheet, right? Like you don't get. I love that we now track hurry ups and hassles and all that. But a great defensive end or a great interior pass rusher does more than just generate sacks. I mean, I want them on the sack sheet, but I need them to generate disruption in the offense, force a running back to cut off his line and take another path where he'll get tackled for a loss by another player. Jadeveon still brings the heat, man.
Well, as a Gamecock fan and as a hater of Michigan who had the picture of him de-helmeting the Michigan player as his screensaver on his phone for a very long time. Whenever he's on the field, I'm watching him to see what he does. And he stands out. It's not just the dreads, it's his size and all that kind of stuff. And I always thought he got a bad rap about not working hard enough. Sure. All right. The next thing trending is John Cena.
Well, I looked him up earlier, but I couldn't find anything about him because I couldn't see him.
It's hard to, I mean, how do you do anything like that? So do you know why he's trending?
I don't. And I'm assuming, though, because I saw Godzilla v. Kong like everybody else in one of the promos, because I'm at the point now, Zoe, where I just love the Fast and the Furious movies because they're blow 'em up, shoot 'em up movies. And apparently John Cena is in the next one, and I guess they're retconning him in as like Don's brother out of nowhere for no reason at all.
By the way, the previews because it was supposed to come out last summer. Yeah. That's what sold me. Cena as his brother, and it looked pretty because he always plays a military type, but he plays that kind of type so good. And I want to see it. There's a new trailer out today. So
that being said, I'll put my money down on the table right now, Zoe, because it's Cena and they want to keep him around. At the end of the movie, Dom and John Cena reunite and he joins the family, and we get now John Cena in the Furious movies.
Let's face it, unless they die in real life, like Paul Walker, unfortunately, people can die in like spinoffs and then suddenly reappear. Not that I've seen all of the Fast and Furious to know that much about it, but I may have seen bits and pieces of all of them. It's the stunts, man. Who cares about the acting? There's amazing stunts in those movies.
If you go watch Giant Dinosaur versus Giant Ape fight each other downtown and you're looking for plot, you're going to be disappointed. If you go let's watch Vin Diesel and John Cena drive Mustang GTs off of bridges with grappling hooks attached to swing around skyscrapers and land perfectly on the bridge next to it, and you're looking for great writing, you're going to be disappointed.
All I can say is watch the trailer. It looks like there's space involved. It was hinted that space might be involved. It looks like it might be, and there may be a certain rapper involved in going into space. That's all I'm saying. All right, the next thing trending, Bernie Madoff.
Bernie Madoff died. And now, Zoe, now that Bernie Madoff has died, for this thing to work, 2 people under him have to die, and then they have to have 2 people under them die, and then they have to have 2 people under that. And if all that happens, it'll be a success. He did a pyramid scheme, ladies.
You had to go there. I didn't expect you to, but it was well done by you.
Thank you very much. I worked on that one.
All right, the last thing, and I know nothing about this, but as a big investor that you are, you probably do. Dogcoin is trending right now.
Dogcoin is suspended for the day. They are not allowing it to trade. There was like a 1,300% jump in its value.
So this is a GameStop type of thing, possibly.
Kind of, but it's it's the cyber currency people are super getting into over the last couple of years, which it's hard to tell how that stuff's going to work. It, for the most part, trends up, but it does have banks every now and then. Dogcoin up quite a bit if you were an owner. Congratulations. Let's try to win you another $1,000 in the $1,000 cash dash on ESPN Upstate. This hour's keyword is boom. Ready or not, here comes the boom. BOOM. Text that word to 72881 72. I just did the thing we talked about earlier. So boom. Here comes.
How you like me now?
Text boom to 72881 72881. Powered by BetQL. Let BetQL's proven data and analytics help you become a better. Download the BetQL app today. Text boom to 72881 for your chance to win $1,000 in the $1,000 cash dash on ESPN Upstate. Mark Ryan up next with Offsides. For Lonzo, I'm Rob. Thanks for hanging out, y'all. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Later.